So last week I tried to cover this stream, this podcast, but my internet kind of died in the middle of it. It was about an hour in. I was kind of bummed. So I decided this morning would be a good time to do a take two of this. This is a stream, again, a podcast. I keep saying a stream, a podcast that Matt Powell was on, and it was re-uploaded to his channel, Truth is Christ podcast, Creation versus Evolution, the debate is over. And yes, I got to read it in Hovind voice. You know, I use the Hovind voice like in regular everyday life. It's become my just guy who's totally full of it voice. So thank you, AJ, for kind of making that into a meme. From R and Raw originally doing one little mock of it, and it just kind of took off. So yeah. Anyway, we're going to take a look at this. I am going to toggle a few happy fun options here for the chat display on screen, because there really isn't that much necessarily to look at on screen. And I figured having y'all's chat messages up automatically would allow me to focus a little more on the God Awful podcast. So without further ado, here we go.
Welcome to the Truth is Christ podcast. I'm joined by Stephen and Lotan and Matt Powell. If you guys are not familiar with Matt Powell, it is the most underrated YouTube channel on YouTube because his videos are packed with information. They're super...
No, they're not. They're nothing but lies. It's typical creationist garbage. And most of the time, all he does is repeat himself with that condescending tone he's got. It's bottom tier anything. It's not even arguments. It's just assertions of complete garbage.
Condensed are usually pretty short, and they just cut straight through arguments, and it's just really good. You go over stuff like creation and even Islam and I think Catholicism and all kinds of different things. So
he talks about a couple of random religious things that I know, because I can't really bring up anything else because I don't know anything about the other things in the world. All I know is about the creatine Jeebus or whatever it is.
Very much looking forward to this, Matt. So I want to start off with, why is this important? Because obviously a lot of people who are watching this are already Bible believers. They're already Christians. They already believe that God has created the heaven and the earth. But why is it important?
You know what? I don't like the chat in video thing that the way Restream does it. I don't like that. So we're gonna go the old-fashioned way. I don't think this stream is gonna get too hectic, so I'll still be able to hit up everybody's chats.
Important to know all these arguments. Like, what's at stake if we don't know the answers to the atheists, to the Big Bang, to evolution, and all these things?
Yeah, I would say it's like super important to know these answers, because if we do not share them with our kids, the secular humanists of the world,
we have to lie to our kids to defend our fairy tales. Yes. So they need to have answers that don't actually answer anything and are complete fallacies, literally and figuratively, to try to defend our pathetic imaginary friend and the story, the fables that support this idea. Because that's all we've got is some book says a thing.
Bill Nye and other people who come on TV, they will convert.
You're so obsessed with Bill Nye, Matt. My God. Is there anyone else in the universe you even know the name of that does anything involved in actual science? Bill Nye's a cool science communicator, but that's really his niche in things, as a communicator. I'm not downplaying him. I'm just saying there's other people doing a lot more.
Many children to believing in Darwinian evolution. So I think it's so important to actually understand why we believe that we came from Adam and Eve. For example, a lot of people say that we descended from a jellyfish or a population of fish, and they push that in the public media. And let me say that is
Let me break things down into absurdities yet again, because that's all creationists can do.
Objectively false. But it's like Hitler has said in the past. He said that if you tell...
Yes, and we go a whole just shy of 3 minutes in before Godwin's law is invoked. Also, this was propaganda minister Goebbels who said this. This was not Hitler.
Lie big enough, loud enough, often enough, people will believe it. You let me control the textbooks, I'll control the state. So I think that if we do
Yeah, so what do creationists want to do? Control the textbooks to control the state? Yes, of course. That's why no evangelical Christian in our fucked up government is at all enacting laws to try to force all their revisionist bullshit as actual history.
not know creation science, and we don't know what the Bible says, that our children become vulnerable to lies of Satan. I think about how a ton of people think that there's more than two genders today.
You know, if there's a Disneyland and a Euro Disneyland, there's an America. Why isn't there a Euro America? You just have this place in Europe that is just suddenly America. I mean, I'm not saying it should happen. That'd be fucking horrible, but, Oh, wait, we had that once. It was 1930s into early 40s Germany at this rate. Yeah, hitting off with a dark humor, but hey, Matt Powell started it by being a prick.
That is a huge lie. A lot of Darwinian evolutionists believe that. They believe things that are objectively false.
That really isn't a thing either. I really need to bring that up, Matt. Is that the Darwinian, that idea you come up with really doesn't exist. The understanding of the actual facts of biological evolution are so far removed from Darwin's initial thoughts that he would barely recognize it. And I must stress again that nobody worships Darwin. Darwin isn't some prophet. You always have to put things in a religious framework, and that's just not how it works. He was just the first person to publish a popular piece on that subject. He was in the right place at the right time, made the right observations, and wrote them into what the kind of book that people needed at the time that took off like it did. He wasn't the first, he wasn't the last, but he just happened to be the guy.
And so if we do not speak the truth on this subject, I'm afraid that it will cost us, and it definitely has.
Yes, and it's good that it will cost you because you don't speak the truth on the subject, because you lie constantly to support your fairy tales. And I hope it does cost all of you everything in the end. That by the end of whatever this is, quote unquote, everyone knows that your fairy tales are complete garbage and moves on from Bronze Age mythology.
Cost us because many Christian students that even have gone to Christian schools will go to public school or to a university, and in their freshman year they'll deny the faith. The reason that is usually because they end up buying in.
Because they're actually properly educated finally, and they realize, oh shit, people have been lying to me my entire life. That's what happens, Matt, right? You understand that when these kids growing up in fundamentalist families end up being educated, if they're smart, which if they're going to higher education, they probably are, sharper than the average nail. I don't know, that's a stupid analogy, but let me have it. They realize people have been lying to them their entire life. And that's a really shitty thing, like shitty feeling to have, is to realize all these people you trusted, all these ideas that were taught to you as good and righteous, that everyone's been lying to you. What does that tell you about what you people? Yeah, I'm going to say you people. What do you mean, you people? You evangelical fuckwits. What your style of upbringing to somebody, what your obsession with lies does to the psyche of somebody.
To Darwinian evolution, and they buy into the notion that we descended from non-living chemicals billions of years ago in soup.
Can I ask you a question real quick? Sorry to inject, but you keep saying Darwinian evolution, and I agree with you that is being taught in our schools. But
yeah, very fair. It's a way to make it feel intelligent, and yeah, it does support the straw man. I mean, you definitely, y'all are 100% on that.
Isn't don't even scientists now, they do believe in evolution, but haven't they thrown out Darwinism?
No, dumbass. It's just it's a very simplified look at things because that's the best he had to work with at the time. So we've kind of moved past that as the quintessential paradigm. That's another thing I love. These creationists don't know crap, and I don't know if they're honestly lying to try to make it sound like there's a discussion to be had there or not, because half the time when they talk about this stuff, they contradict themselves. One will be like, well, no, they haven't, but such and such, and it's like, shut up, Jimmy, you were supposed to agree with me.
Because we've like cracked the protein and seen all the things inside the protein, and didn't Darwin say like, if you could do that and there was anything past that, then all my theories are thrown out? But
No. The fuck are you talking about, dude? No. Darwin never fucking said anything like that. And proteins don't crack. They're not eggs. Eggs. There's a lot of ways to say that word, egg.
but they still teach it in schools.
That's an amazing point. That's exactly what has happened. See, many people have actually refuted Darwinian evolution.
See, just constant lies. It's incredible.
And a lot of Darwinists don't even believe Darwin's mechanisms anymore, because Darwin was making statements like, no organism wholly soft can be preserved, but that's not true. We found soft organisms.
Wow, he wasn't an expert on everything. What a surprise. That's why we moved past what he may or may not have said. His understanding, like all of ours, only goes so far. We only know so much, and we all tend to specialize in things that happen to quite simply tickle our fancy. That's why I have a ridiculous amount of knowledge of Soviet nuclear power plants of the RBMK type, when that is effectively useless information to me beyond researching the Chernobyl disaster, which is, in the grand scheme, useless for me to care about. It really is. But I fucking love it. And I love those power plants. So I have a lot of knowledge on them. Still a ton I need to learn. I am no expert. But I do know a lot. That doesn't mean, though, I know jack diddly shit about the wonderful CANDU reactors up in Canada. Even though you think, oh, well, he likes nuclear power plants, so he should be the power plant expert. No. Hyper focus, and some of my conceptions about stuff have been shown wrong, can be wrong. I will be wrong about things in the future, all kinds of stuff I like, and that's fine. I'm not a be all end all. Darwin wasn't a be all end all. His writings were the catalyst to get the fledgling scientific movement of the era, where naturalism started to become actual science as we know it. The methodologies helped get that going. Is that y'all forget that science was in a fledgling state at that time as we think of science today. But it was that period through the 1800s, going into the 1900s, that really started to push things into this framework of testing, of hypotheses, of research that we use to this day, constantly refining our understanding of how the entire universe works. So we went from the 16 and 1700s, from your fucking King James crap being published, on through to revolutions across colonies. The first wave, we kind of helped kick that off. USA, woo. Through the 1800s, us having our freaking growing pains, and the rest of the world shifting, in kind. France wasn't exactly the most stable state for a while, as an example. Things progress. Then you hit the 20th century, the 1900s. And, oh man, by that point, full momentum. We went from 63 years from the first flight to landing people on the fucking moon. Beginning of the century, we barely understood anything about the atom. By 1945, we had built weapons based around our understanding of the exact energy values of this stuff. Yes, everything goes back to nuclear science with me. Y'all's obsession with what Darwin said back in 1850 something is so fucking pathetic. But it shows that you have nothing else. And if you can lie about a man who's been dead for 170 years or 100 plus years, who wrote those things 170 fucking years ago, maybe, just maybe, some of your idiot followers will think you have a point. because, of course, you're going to base everything off an old primitive book because that's all you have. So everything's got to be equivalent, even though nearly 2 centuries of science will have shown everything in your book to be garbage and has constantly vindicated the core principles that are in On the Origin of Species. Thank you for coming to this monologue. I'm ending the stream now. Nah, I kid.
It's preserved in the fossil record. So as we make more and more discoveries, and we look at the genome of humans and of other animals, it becomes apparent Darwin's theory was incorrect, even according to Darwinists. He was observing things. He was
No one is a Darwinist.
making claims that were false. And he was, not a good guy. I suppose we could get into that at some point maybe, but he definitely was.
Oh, Matt, but that's an ad hominem. Y'all really hate the ad hominems, but you love to use them when it's convenient for you.
He had some skeletons in the closet. He was not somebody that I would be wanting to put his name on my car, for example. He just had a lot of problems. He was scientifically illiterate, for sure.
Oh, yes, and you're the expert. Yes, Mr. 6,000-year-old Earth. Yes, of course. Turn your nose up at them, Matt, for you're far smarter than the average pleb. You don't even need to be on this podcast. You should have your own podcast with a shitty comic book theme, yes.
Yeah, but the biggest, I mean, just to kind of backtrack a little bit, it comes down to our kids.
Also, I'm sorry, I know I have some eccentric immaturities with me, but the idea of these, hardcore Christians trying to talk such, important stuff, and they got a goddamn comic book theme going on, like fucking man-children. The dissonance is just, I don't know. It just doesn't do what they think it does for someone like me. It's like, wow, comic book, okay.
And if we don't teach them these things, they're going to grow up and be deceived into something else because it's pushed so heavily in schools.
Yes, if we don't force them to believe our bullshit, they might believe someone else's bullshit that's actually the truth. Yes.
Yeah. And even though they don't have explanations for it, it's a religion. They will push it anyways, and that's what our kids are going to receive if they're not rooted and grounded in Christ and in His Word and why these things are true.
Yeah, fine example here. 4 guys sitting in rooms probably hundreds, if not thousands of miles from each other, having a conversation that is then made available for the world to watch in demand. Hate science. Excuse me, I'm taking too much soda. Yeah, on demand. But of course, this is actual science. It's provable, testable, observable, but the evolution isn't. Stellar nucleosynthesis isn't. But sin's totally real. Yep. It's just totally there, you guys. Check it out. Can't show it to us. Can't put in a jar, paint it red, but it's totally there.
And if they don't have a scientific reason from a creation point of view, how are they going to refute? So it comes down to being able to teach your kids and also.
And then this idea that everything has to be actively refuted when it's like, no, your claim has to be supported first off. Hence why all of your fairy tale bullshit is just that. Fairy tale bullshit.
So anybody else who you might cross paths with who was raised in public school and this is what they believe, this can give you the tools to show them with a gentle spirit.
I don't think that's it. I think it's honestly them being man-children. Because, to be real, kids don't read fucking comic books. They like superhero movies and shit. They don't fucking read comic books. They don't. That trend was dying when I was still a teenager. It stayed old farts. They love the comic book shit. And then, like I said, the DCU and the MCU and the ACLU and whatever, but, I'm sorry, that was a Hovind grade joke, but I had to do it.
There's actually an alternative explanation that fits the Bible, and here's the proof.
Mm-hmm. Public schools don't even give you a choice.
Yeah, because facts aren't something you choose.
They teach it as objective truth.
Because it is.
And I saw a creationist Christian, teaching on this subject, and they said something like, "Here's a test question. that kids are being asked in public school. Do you think people are still evolving? And that's like the presupposition that evolution is true, and you don't have a choice to say, well, I don't believe in evolution. And so, yeah, you're indoctrinating at a young age.
But let's talk about the prevailing
Yes, but little toy Noah's Arks and Veggie Tales and all the little youth groups in church and stuff and all of these little story times and kids being forced to go with their parents to these places to be told outright lies and shit. That's totally not indoctrination. No.
view by most scientists today, which is the Big Bang, which I remember seeing, the James Webb telescope they just put out like a year or two ago. I thought I saw somewhere that they had to retract the Big Bang theory, but now from what I'm seeing at least, I mean, I don't.
No. All the observations that you idiot creationists constantly bring up and will never shut up about, in the same way you will never shut up about what Mary Schweitzer found, even though she's told you in far nicer words to stop being assholes manipulating what she actually discovered, her and her team, is that galaxy formation seems to have happened at a faster rate than we thought. That the galaxies were more matured at certain distances than one would think they should have been. And so we now realize we have to revise some things. But that's it. Revise. The core principles are all the same, including cosmic inflation, i.e., the Big Bang.
Keep up with it too much. They're still adherent to it. Is that what they still teach, Matt? Big Bang? Everything from nothing?
Yeah, actually, pretty much all cosmologists believe in the Big Bang, that everything came from an infinitely dense hot point.
No.
Like everything that you see, right? Literally everything in the universe, they think was crammed down into the size of an atom.
Energy can be compacted to a theoretically infinite value. Matter and energy are the same. Ergo, this is a non-issue.
Or even smaller than an atom, or of a single proton. And then they claim that it exploded, right? And in a billionth of a billionth of a billionth of a second, it went from that tiny point to something billions of miles.
Yes. They. It's always the ill-defined they the religious nuts rage against. Yeah, absolutely. It's always they. Are they in the room with us right now, Matt? Show me on the doll where they touched you. Are they in my computer? Are they in my walls? Are they in my cat? Are they in my balls?
Across. And so obviously that's impossible for you to cram even just a gallon of water into a space that is smaller than a single proton.
That's where you're wrong, kiddo.
That is impossible. And think about this too. We have like the sun that is burning, right? It's burning out in space. Now I understand it's nuclear fusion, so it's technically not fire, but the question becomes...
Yeah, it's not burning, even though I will colloquially say that. When you're trying to discredit actual fucking science, you better start getting your terms right, buddy boy.
Could you get a fire from just a piece of dust exploding?
Is the sun just a singular piece of dust, quote unquote, exploding and making fire? Or is it an incredible volume of mostly hydrogen, which has coalesced under gravity and reached pressures and temperatures to a point where the repulsive force of a nuclei is overcome and the very, very energy-rich process of nuclear fusion can occur? Think it's the latter, and if you do some basic math, you'll find that to be the case. And that's the thing that always gets me, is like, creationists love to talk about how good math is. Kent loves to bring up, oh, I taught math 15 years, and he's always, he won't disagree with basic math. But the math is literally the crux of virtually every bit of any of these scientific principles, especially in things like cosmology, where you're dealing with these kinds of energy levels for stars at the atomic scale, which is funny that the math you do for understanding fusion is at the atomic level for the largest singular objects that regularly occur in the cosmos, under what is the weakest but most well, not even most noticeable force, but the weakest of the fundamental forces, gravity. It's the other really funny thing. I would say it's the most noticeable, but technically electromagnetism is how we're able to touch anything, why anything is solid. The repulsion of the total electron fields, and it's crazy. But yeah, I could get all into this stuff. I love it. Love it. Don't love these assholes. Oh, and there goes the cat who wanted in 5 seconds ago, wanting out now. These cats are fucking annoying me.
Absolutely not. You could not convert like a small piece of dust into a rock the size of a boulder. That would be impossible. But yet, according to Darwinian processes and mechanisms, or at least Big Bang cosmology, they think that everything was crammed down into this infinitely dense point. But even if that were the case, if it exploded, all that's going to happen is you're just going to have smaller pieces fly off. It's not going to construct large.
No, Matt, the matter density in the universe following cosmic inflation was generally homogeneous, some areas having more matter than more. Yeah, some areas having more matter than others, but you can think of it like cookie dough and it expanding as you bake the cookie. The cookie doesn't just fly apart, there's simply voids produced in it as all the stuff expands, giving the universe its current overall appearance, which is much like that of a sponge at the grand scale, to where what you're seeing in individual specks of light on such a artistic depiction of the actual data are clusters and superclusters of tens of hundreds of possibly thousands of galaxies forming filaments collecting other clusters, great walls of just trillions of stars in those billions upon billions of galaxies, quintillions of stars. It's ridiculous. The sheer scale of the actual cosmos is just beyond incredible. But understanding that matter and energy are one and the same, and that it took a good little while for the energy density of the nascent universe to lower to less than to a point where you actually had matter at all, it kind of comes together. You've got a constantly expanding realm of space-time that cools down as it expands, but you're gonna have all this stuff still with mostly homogeneous, with little acentropic elements here and there, where gravity's gonna do its thing. It's not the hand grenade you all think it is.
Pieces of material. If you have something exploding, smaller pieces shoot out, right? Smaller pieces of shrapnel if it's a bomb.
Raisin bread, totally. Or if you actually do mean resin bread, I don't know. That seems like it'd be a little hard. Resin bread. It's like, what's this made of? Oh, it's a straight up resin. What? Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. It's basically amber. That's why there's a mosquito in yours. What?
Or a grenade, right? So there is no way that the Big Bang happened. It is absolutely false. And even if the Big Bang happened, it would still prove that you'd have to have a creator to be able to take an explosion out of chaos and produce something so.
And, that's another thing creationists do. They're like, this never happened, but even if it did, I got you another technicality. Ha ha! It's like, no. You're just making shit up. What a surprise, ladies and gentlemen. Matt Powell making shit up.
Magnificent out of it. So even if atheists are correct about the Big Bang, they're still false. They're still incorrect about the origin of the universe, because it would still demand a God to take an explosion out of chaos, produce order, demands intelligence, because it is a violation of the second law of thermodynamics otherwise, which states that everything tends towards chaos. You don't get order out of some chaotic explosion. It's just.
Except you totally can from what would be otherwise chaotic processes. At the grand scale, yes, but we're talking, like in this case, the entire scale of the cosmos. In isolated systems, you can have what one would define as order coming from chaos. It just, y'all don't understand thermodynamics at all. And I love that you want to use scientific laws to try to discredit science, as if the scientists haven't considered these concepts, as if they don't understand these concepts better. It's incredibly telling of your massive egos, which are the only thing massive about you. Sorry, your wives are very disappointed. I hate to tell you. That you think that you have this stuff figured out, that the actual professionals who do this shit day in, day out don't. It's just so self-centered, so full of yourself on it.
Completely scientifically impossible.
Right.
And it also leaves people with
Your God is just totally scientifically impossible. Show me a mind without a brain, Matt. Show me one of those first. Demonstrate that.
the questions that they sort of will rebuke Christians on what came before that. Right? That's like
We do no rebuking. That's kind of a y'all's thing. Just call out your idiocy. What part of that don't you understand?
the biggest one. If they think that everything started with a big bang, and you say, well, what was before that? Then they have to
Cosmic inflation will have been the start of the parameters of the universe as we currently understand it, up to the point where our math breaks down if we work backwards. Preceding that really makes no sense because time effectively didn't exist at that point. But as I've stated, I am perceiving a Planck scale condensation of pure energy, if you really must know what I speculate, simply based on my pathetic knowledge of all the details on this, which is still vastly ahead of yours. But I understand fully that I am no expert. The Planck scale unit of pure energy at Planck temperature. The minimum size at the maximum temperature that anything can be. If we were able to measure temperature in this context, but if it was measurable, that's what we'd get. Upon, for whatever reason that is truly irrelevant, inflation occurring, which may have been an inevitability with this. Again, we don't know. We're dealing with concepts where time doesn't exist. Agency and cause and effect sure don't exist. But for whatever reason, upon expanding, you had the opportunity for it to cool. Just like virtually anything, gas is expanding, will cool. I messed with a friend like that one time by holding a can of the compressed air duster, for computers. Blasting that, then just sticking the thing right against his arm when he wasn't thinking about it. We were working on some stuff. He's like, dude, it's cold. He's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, got you. Then I turned it upside down and sprayed him on the other arm. Like about 10 minutes later, he really didn't like that one. It's kind of a jerk. We had fun though. Anyway, excuse me. Point is, dude, the math works out. The logic works out. This stuff is explained and is as understood as current observations will allow us to. And as we peer deeper and deeper, we constantly reach states where your God is not necessary and is evidently non-existent. And if y'all don't like it, too fucking bad. I should have picked a better religion, like none at all.
concede that something existed outside of time. Like it was just always was. It always was. Where did this thing come from? It just always was. And they can believe that, but they make fun of us for believing, well, God just always was. And it's the exact same belief, just
Yeah, it's
in
like
something else.
it's common sense. Something explodes. It explodes into smaller pieces. It doesn't form like
Yeah.
these awesome like planets and galaxies and anything really. Nothing forms from an explosion. It just
Well, I
it's
think that's
destructive.
why they have
If you guys understood it wasn't a goddamned explosion.
why they believe in so much time, because that's what they need to justify all of their theories. But you are right.
Except that the time scale is extremely evident by every bit of, once again, math that we can do on the known properties.
Like I know when I read about the Big Bang, things may have changed, and what they believe now, because that's the thing about the Bible. The Bible, you open up, we're reading the same Bible that was written, 400 years ago.
Yeah, note the King James reference, the shittiest Bible.
You're not reading the same scientific book as you were reading last year.
Yes, because we work to refine and make more accurate publications regarding science, or at least that's what we used to do before this country went to shit. Meanwhile, you follow the same Bronze Age bullshit, which is confusing that you think that a book never changing somehow means it's correct and more valid. So, should the science books just never get updated again? And would that shut you idiots up? Well, the book hadn't changed in 5 years, so it must be true. Well, we got you on your own technicality, fuckface.
Just like in the classrooms, they change year to year. But I remember reading about the Big Bang, and it was they believed everything exploded, and then as things are tossing through space, they sort of cling to each other and eventually form gravitational pulls because they get larger, with mass. But even that logic, if everything is exploding from a certain point, they're exploding and they're traveling in completely different directions.
Once again, you don't understand the homogeneity of the energy density in the primordial universe. And while, again, a little varied, the nature at which everything cooled to a point where you had less dense and more dense spaces. This happened all over at the same time. It is not the explosion you think it is. Stop it. You're stupid.
Right. And today we'll have solar systems crossing each other like perfectly. It's like a...
Oh, yeah, just every other day. I love that they say this, that solar systems just cross each other, but then they're the same people who say you never see a star form. You don't see solar systems just cross each other either. That kind of rarely happens. Unless, you got a whole goddamn merger going on. And let me tell you, you get two stars anywhere close to each other, they're going to start doing the death spiral. They like each other a whole lot. Then what you get when they combine together, you can get some interesting stuff. You might not want to be around for it. If you're on one of those worlds, you are royally fucked. No, we don't see star systems just going through one another.
Clock.
Yeah. You can't get order from chaos. And how do you get morality?
Except you can. And morality is fucking irrelevant. This pivot you idiots do. It doesn't fucking matter. It has nothing to do with the cosmos. The cosmos does not care. There is no morality to existence. It's a concept we came up with. If you want to go there, we'll go there.
From immoral objects.
Immoral. Amoral. They have no morality. Saying immoral implies that they are intentionally evil by some arbitrary measurement, which your God is, but
It's something that always, it's like, how do you get morality from it? You can't.
How do you get consciousness? I mean, there's so many gaps that we're jumping over.
Well, consciousness seems to be an emergent property of complex brains. Welcome to chemistry. Shit gets wild.
How does life come from non-life? I think that...
Oh no, dude! Did you eat today? Today? Did you eat today? Everything you ate today is non-life. Oh, but it was once living. Yeah, but it's not living now. Also, you do absorb a lot of, various vitamins and minerals that are required for you to stay functional. Your body seems to know what to do with those. So, yeah, we're talking about a living system currently. Okay, but what about the abiogenesis, which is what you guys are actually going at? When you forget that all life is particular chemistry. And once you get self-replicating molecules, especially ones that will use something in the environment, and then whatever is left will discard whatever they didn't need. Uh-oh, that's consumption and waste release. We already have the self-replicating part. Holy shit, we have primitive metabolism, if one wants to call it that. It eats, it poops, it reproduces. All via pure chemistry. Guess what? It's life. There you go, buddy. It's not that hard. Life is just chemistry.
That's the biggest jump. Even if you do grant suns and even water and rocks and minerals, how does life start from that? And
Hey, calcium is a metal, right? I just want to bring that up. You know it's a metal.
every time, they talk about this single cell protein, we've never witnessed that.
Single-celled protein. What? Is that like a 4-card tire?
In science, and I'm pretty sure science, you have to be able to test, like the scientific method. You have to test.
And there we go with the test. Oh, the test. Not understanding what testing is. Not understanding anything about science. But knowing enough buzzwords to lie about it.
And you have to reproduce. And we've only ever seen a protein form from another protein. And never just out of nothing.
That's actually my
At
next
least
question for Matt. My next question was on the topic of
Yes, I must ask Matt Powell questions, for he is totally an expert on everything. He doesn't know shit.
abiogenesis, life from non-life. How do materialists usually respond to
Here we go, everyone. Ready for the umpteenth time to be told you believe you came from a rock? Because that's where he's about to go.
you when you're bringing up these arguments when it comes to life from non-life? Because I don't understand how they believe a rock turned into something that can reproduce and eat and survive and live.
I can answer that easily, because we don't. It's a stupid-ass straw man you fucking morons came up with, because you have nothing. You know less than nothing about how life actually works.
For generations. It doesn't make any sense. But what is their usual response to you?
Usually they'll say that I'm misrepresenting them, because when I point out
Because you are.
like the absurdity of their theories, they will say, "Oh, that's just a misrepresentation. We don't."
It's not what you say is in no way, shape, or form a theory. It's not anything anyone believes. So yeah, they're going to call you out as misrepresenting, because you are. You're a lying liar who lies.
Really believe that we descended from rocks? Well, if you believe in evolution, yes, you do. If you believe in abiogenesis, yes, you do. If you think there's no God, you absolutely are left with the notion that all life descended from a rock. And the reason that is, well, for one, you could just type in on Google, "You owe your life to rock."
Oh, yes, the article that I read for a live stream that shows that it says nothing of what you want to make people think it says, because for some reason you and Ken Hovind just love to show just the top of that page and never actually read any of it. I called you out explicitly on that. Yeah. I'll fucking suck, you know that?
And it brings up a paper titled "You Owe Your Life to Rock." It starts out by saying,
Yes, and if I do a Google search for big titty Japanese girls, I'm getting big titty Japanese girls. Wow, it's almost as if doing a search on the internet will generally bring you what you search for. What a surprise! You guys, did y'all know that? Did y'all know that if you do a search on the internet, it'll show you what you want to see? Whoa, that's fucking awesome, dude!
"Thank goodness for granite. Thank goodness for granite. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here, right?" So we owe our life to this granite that was rained on. Minerals came out of it. And then those minerals are what sparked life. So yes, they think that we descended from a rock. I mean, that is the logical conclusion. They can deny it all they want.
Right there, though, you say logical conclusion. It's like, no. How about you ask what they actually think? And again, Kent. Again, Matt, same person. You're the morons who think that Adam was a dirt man.
One, even though it sounds ludicrous, and it is ludicrous, but that is the logical conclusion of Darwinism, is that we descended from rocks that eventually turned into slime, that eventually turned into fish, that eventually turned into primates, Curious George, and all the way up through the line here we are. And it's like Steve mentioned earlier, some textbooks ask kids, are we still evolving? I mean, we never have been evolving. We have genes that have slight variations, but we did not descend from a population of fish. And we did not come.
Fish isn't a taxonomic classification, but chordates, yeah. You know how we know we descended from chordates? Because we're chordates.
From a rock. And when I ask people, do you think that life started from a rock, or do you think that you came from a fish? They laugh because it sounds so ludicrous.
Because it is, because you're just making shit up you're creating a ridiculous straw man of what the science actually says. Because that's all you idiots do.
Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools, right? So, yes, the theory is that the earth was rained on millions, billions of years ago, and it created a soup.
I mean, Chris, you could just straight talk shit. I don't care. It's not like I'm going to report you in the chat.
And out of that soup eventually walked,
I mean, and y'all know my chat is I have no restrictions set up on it, so you should be able to just say whatever you want. You can drop F-bombs all you want. I don't give a damn.
Organisms and stuff, right? The first single-celled organism, for example. But here's the thing. They claim in some sources, and this might surprise you guys, that lightning actually struck mud and it created life. The question becomes, have you ever seen the movie Frankenstein, right? That is a Frankensteinian idea. It's based in just a fantasy, the notion that all life came from the lightning hitting mud. And here's the thing, if light...
I remember this was a weird one from when we did this the first time, so we're still not up to the point where the internet crapped out on me, but I don't know about lightning hitting mud. I don't care, but lightning is a large release of energy, and it's a great source of the right kind of energies at the right distances from the strike point to get some chemical reactions going. The smell of lightning is a chemical reaction in of itself, ozone getting produced. That's just an example of what can happen. And so it's once again trivial to think that lightning strikes would have added possibly the right energy to catalyze and get some of these processes going. We don't know, but we know it could happen. We know it can and does happen. That you can at least get, with the energy added in, more complex compounds of the organic type that like to do that thing that these compounds like to do of carry on particular reactions. Many of those being self-sustaining reactions that replicate. I say self-sustaining insofar as, of course, as long as you quote unquote feed them, but they're not one and done. So you have the predecessors to life, and it's not a hard extrapolation that it'd be a relatively non-trivial process for this stuff to really get going under the right conditions, which seem to have existed at a point in early Earth, because this planet's kind of cool like that. Of course, we only think that because it happens to be the planet we live on. If Venus was the one that went out, or Mercury, God no, Mars, we'd be thinking Mars or Mercury, or I'm obsessed with Mercury. Mercury's just like a planet core. It's like half a planet. Seriously, there's barely any crust or mantle. It's almost all core. Mercury's weird, man. And apparently time doesn't work right on it because it's so close to the sun. So wrap your head around that one. Anyway, Mars or Venus, we would be thinking they're the special ones because, we adapt to the world we're on. This goes into the puddle analogy. And I know we're deviating from the topic, but I just like to go through the train of thought for you all because y'all seem to enjoy it. And this is a thorough thrashing of not only Matt Powell, but the rest of these clowns.
Was to strike any one of us right now, any one of these studios, what's it going to do? Is it going to assemble life? Are we going to have a better existence? Absolutely.
Yes, because this one thing cannot work to do this in this condition. It cannot work ever in any aspect of this condition. Oh, yes. Just like if I were to set my hand on the stove, on the pot in the stove while it's going, I would burn my hand. But it simultaneously seems to cook food and break down proteins and make it tender and better to digest. Weird how that's acceptable, but lightning doing something productive is totally not acceptable. How convenient.
Absolutely not. So even if we granted that lightning struck the Earth billions of years ago, it's not going to form life. It's only going to destruct life. And I've tried to explain to them. When I'm in debates with them, they will assert, we came from lightning hitting mud. That is not true.
You know, Matt, you're the first person I've ever heard say that. You know that, right? This stream, this podcast, is the first time I've ever heard anyone say that. But now you're just acting like it's the status quo.
I agree with
That
the
is
mud part.
objectively false.
So we had the Big Bang explosion creating a perfect universe of order, and then we have lightning, which is destructive.
Yes, order. Order. It just looks orderful to you. It's nature doing what it does, and one of the processes of entropy is going to be what we see. This is what the natural processes wind up happening. It's funny, it seems pretty orderful to us, and it is in a way, but it is still its own level of perpetual chaos on the grand scale. It's way deeper than I have the energy to get into, and this isn't an active conversation, so I'd just be talking to my audience who already understands this stuff. But your understanding of how anything works is beyond juvenile.
Sparking life. I mean, my goodness, it's like the opposite of reality.
Matt,
Sorry,
Matt, you say that when you break it down for a lot of these people, they say that you're misconstruing their arguments. What have you found to be like some of the most things that they've misconstrued about your argument, about the creation argument, in
Well, all they can do
rebuttals
is hurl
to some of these?
insults. And so, like, when you speak facts, sometimes all they can do really is hurl insults and say stuff like, well, you believe that you came from a rock too, because God.
Well, that's not an insult, Matt. That's stating a very obvious fact. And again, if you want to make a premise and make it make a ridiculous premise and try to use that to debunk someone's view on things, when we turn that around and can cite in your book where it says that, it's not an insult, it's not an ad hom, it's using your own logic against you.
Created man out of the dust of the ground. So there you go. You came from stardust. But hold on a second. There's a huge difference between the notion that rocks assembled themselves, life assembled itself on a rock.
Which isn't what you're saying. You're strictly saying life came from rock. So you're stating rock life. You're not talking about the processes about it. You're just stating the idea that happened at all. See, this is the bait and switch you idiots do. This is a subtle one, but they do this often. And it's like, that is irrelevant. You're not talking about how. If you phrased it as you think life just became rocks just became life, we'd have a bit of an argument there. But even then, again, your God had to be demonstrated.
And God taking and creating man out of the dust of the ground. There's a huge difference between those two things. To make it out like it's an identical perspective, it's not. To assume that dust particles could create themselves and then conceive life is in and of itself false. And I was in a debate with this one.
Life is only chemical processes. Chemistry works. Therefore, there is no reason to not presume that under given conditions, which seem to have been capable, that are relatively trivial conditions, honestly, that self-assembling molecules would have gotten started and just not stopped.
Guy a while ago who suggested that it was ridiculous. He said, it's so ridiculous that you believe a Jewish man could die and come back from the dead. You really mean to tell me you believe somebody came back to life? And I said, look at what you guys believe. You guys believe every living organism came to life by itself, resurrected itself from non-living material.
It can't resurrect itself if it was never alive to begin with. You don't even know what these concepts are. Why are you talking about this? God, you're dumb.
Atheism teaches a bigger resurrection than Christianity.
No, it doesn't. You're just wrong.
I believe as a Christian, Jesus could have died and resurrected from the dead because he's God. But they believe every living organism, including you and I, came to life from dead, unconscious, unsentient material.
What pisses me off is that the bottom right guy looks like a counterfeit Adam the Woo, and it really fucking pisses me off seeing him, especially since Adam the Woo passed back on December 22nd, and I thought that guy was really cool, really followed him during his, Urbex days. Kind of fell out of watching stuff during his I just tour Disney all the time phase, but I liked the guy 100%. Like, you do you, he was one of the few Disney adults that I don't consider a Disney adult, but two, I could respect for his just love of, theme parks and stuff. He just was a genuinely good person. And so seeing this chode monkey slightly resemble him and my brain go like, that looks like Adam Woo, that looks like Adam Woo, really pisses me off.
Billions of years ago.
Again, even that argument has nothing to do with the creation argument, right? They're going straight to the Christian belief.
Yeah, it's not much, but it is a kind of charisma that is far more than all of these ass clowns combined. And yeah, Matt is more annoying than Kent. Matt Powell is a total prick. And if you watch his videos, Kent's a total prick, but Matt Powell is somehow an even worse prick. And if you watch his normal videos, which are really short, it's ugh. Like I don't cover Matt Powell as often because, one, I don't really have much to say. He never has anything too wild going on. He just says the same shit. But he gets under my skin. Early Yamato. What better way to start this Sunday? Christians, especially the whole band, always say, I believe. Dude, the universe doesn't care about what you believe. Exactly.
But even they don't believe that argument because, Stephen, you work with a bunch of scientific people and you've seen people come back from the dead, right?
No, you haven't. The colloquial comeback from the dead is not legal death, clinical death. Death is a process, but it is, once fundamentally crossed that point, it is an irreversible process. No one, nothing has ever come back to life because definitionally being dead is an irreversible state. Otherwise, under any other circumstances, you would be in a near-death state. Very different.
Yeah. I guess I've resuscitated
technically,
people
right?
back to that. Yeah.
And
No, not technically.
I mean, not 3 days, not 3 nights, and they didn't bring themselves back to the dead. That's why we believe Christ is God. But
Right.
I mean, the whole idea, the notion of someone coming back from the dead, I mean, that's scientific. That's been proven.
No, it hasn't at all. You're wrong. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
We've seen it happen.
It reminds me of sorry, you want to go, Brad?
No, go ahead.
I had a conversation with my a pastor friend of mine, and he gave me a joke, and it reminds me of this whole thing we're talking about. He said, God and an atheist, they were duking it out, and they said, all right, we're going to settle this once and for all, and we're going to make a person.
If the atheist is in some sort of combat with God themselves, I highly doubt the person would continue to be an atheist, given that the ultimately valid piece of evidence, the deity themselves actually showing up and interacting with them in a verifiable way to where the atheist accepts, yes, this is most definitely this entity depicted here, they wouldn't be atheist anymore. Your joke fucking sucks, asshole.
So God took the dust of the earth and made a person. And the atheist said, I can do that too. And he went to go pick up the dirt, and God said, get your own dirt. Sorry, that was cheesy.
No, you're good.
Yeah, it was fucking stupid, too. And yes, I gotta break out the accent. It was stupid.
I was thinking of a question for Matt, which we didn't plan.
Well, God asking where implies time, and from implies a place, and God is outside of time and place. You know, he's watching your funeral right now, as well as jerking it off to Backdoor Sluts 9, because For God's comes from, that South Park joke is a real movie. Yeah. He stars in it himself. And it's like, that's why I would phrase it as, what is the origin of your deity? If your deity is always existing, then again, why not skip a step and have the universe in and of itself as effectively always existing?
I didn't send this ahead of time, so if you don't know the answer to this, that's fine. But
The lower left definitely doesn't have much going on inside that massive cranium. Gonna pull out an Invader Zim quote here. Why is his head so big? I shouldn't mock someone with, well, actually, hell, half of them get hairlines receding. I don't know. I shouldn't. I'm balding. Balding. I'm as bald as I'm gonna get. I got that cool pattern baldness where the like the Picard style. So I'm very fortunate on that front.
I'm curious.
I don't look as awesome in the broad scheme though. I mean, come on. I am no Jean-Luc Picard.
Do materialists have an explanation for? Okay, let's just say life came from not life. The lightning struck the mud, and there was the cell, and it was reproducing. Why did that cell, like, how did it know to create eyes and to evolve ears?
Evolution isn't an active process in that regard. It's not an I know I need to do this. Random things happen. Sometimes they prove to be beneficial. If you have some cells that for whatever reason are sensitive to photons, that can prove beneficial. Suddenly, eyes. The better question would be, why would your God create organisms with eyes that they can't use? Like those, is it some? There's a toad with the eyes in the mouth. That's fucking weird. But then there's those, like, is it a mole or something? I don't know. It's something that lives underground and it has eyes that totally function, and the skin is completely grown over. So they have working eyes that they don't use, that they can't use, but they're there. Why would your God create that? Or does it make more sense for that to be an evolutionary holdover and the eyes haven't fully atrophied yet? Because that's what's going to happen eventually. Since not having the eyes will prove to be better, a less vulnerable space, the eyes will atrophy as that species continues to evolve. It'd be pretty fascinating. We might get a branching case where one side keeps the eyes for whatever stupid reason, or maybe goes back to using them in some way, and the eyelids open back up. But the others, there's going to be a branch. If that species doesn't go extinct, that just it atrophies completely, because that's evolution, fuck boy.
And to sense something that it could never possibly know it like exists outside of itself. It doesn't even have brain cells. It doesn't know anything. It has no thoughts.
Yeah, because it's not an active process. It doesn't choose to evolve this way.
Do they have explanations for these things? Why do we have eyes? Why can we feel things? Why can we experience all this?
Well, we have a central nervous system, and we have eyes because predecessor species had eyes, and going on and on and on to eventually the first light-sensitive cells in one of our very distant ancestors that we have a direct evolutionary lineage back to. It's not hard. God, you people are dumb. That's why I like my audience. You all, you're smart as fuck. I don't say that to placate you. I mean it. Y'all are fucking smart. Y'all impress me sometimes with the random stuff y'all will bring to the table. And I'm like, why are you not creating content yourself? I'll think that. And I'm like, it's a bit of a pain in the ass. And if I can help, spread what y'all know that I don't know, we all learn more. Anyone watching will learn more. But to see these idiots get on here in this ultimate brain trust of absolute dog shit, utter whatever the hell it is they're feeling like in the moment, it's incredible. These are the people who are successful. And fuck each and every one of you assholes on screen. Audience, y'all are the best though. Love you. I mean it.
Curious if there's a response from that in mainstream science.
What they claim is that eventually RNA.
Her friend Tigre, having questions is great. The problem is that these Hovens don't want to look for answers, since their magic book is the predetermined answer. Exactly. They start with their conclusion and look for answers to questions that support it, rather than having questions and trying to support the answers of those.
Turned to DNA, so it got rained on the rocks, right? Maybe lightning hit mud, or maybe just the rocks started to come to life. The materials being rained out of them, right, eroded from them. And their notion is that RNA was formed, and then it started to form DNA, and that DNA over time developed the ability to have a nervous system to end up where we are today. Now, the problem with that is that if you look up how does RNA or DNA get destroyed, one of the first things that you'll see is that it gets destroyed by water and sunlight. What was the Earth like? Filled with water and had a lot of sunlight, probably.
Early Earth, actually, no. Very cloudy. Very, very cloudy. And depending on the chemical reaction you're going for, you're going to need water. Water is a universal solvent. Also, I don't think water destroys RNA, DNA, whatever, like you're saying it does. Otherwise, we'd have a bit of a problem with our bodies being 70% water. Cytoplasm and the like. But yeah. What was I going to say? What was I going to say? Words are eluding me. You suck, Matt. I'll remember it in a sec.
So water destroys.
Oh, right. That a lot of these compounds, it's suspected the compounds that have slight issues with water, probably would have formed since there is going to be areas where, border zones between dry land and deep water. You're going to have tidal flows. You're going to have waves. You're going to have shallow pools that dry up. That during dry periods, you could have the more complicated compounds form, be protected, be in a state where they're not, if the water damages them all, no longer vulnerable to this. And when the water comes back, there you go. You've got them back in a universal solvent for other more complicated reactions to happen. So this isn't the gotcha you think it is, man.
DNA faster than fire does. Most people don't know this. So imagine that you have an early Earth that is an environment where you're less likely to have life come from non-life than if it was an environment where there was fire on the planet, if it was a roasting planet. In fact, if you think about it, to make more sense of this, if you, like DNA people, for example, forensic analysis folks, when they look at somebody that died in a fire, they can trace the DNA better than the remains of somebody who died in water. Water scatters DNA faster than fire does.
Oh, so now we're talking about stuff being scattered. Note that this is someone who died. So they're decomposing. And so you have all this material floating, once again, in a universal solvent, rather than being dehydrated in flame, to where these compounds would harden, solidify, maybe break down, but they'd still be, depending on what it is, like proteins break down, but everything else be detectable. And even then, you see the evidence of the proteins. The matter isn't going anywhere unless it actually burns and carbonizes in and of itself. So, I mean, again, Matt, how does that work inside of our living bodies this very instant if water is so dangerous? That doesn't make sense.
So you're more likely to have life from non-life in a grill at 1,000 degrees Celsius than in the water.
No, you're not. And if your grill is that hot, you have a serious problem.
But people who don't study science, they think that if you have a little bit of soup, it's going to possibly create life, when you're more likely to create life in a blazing hot fire. Most people do not know that, but any forensic...
Hail Balthazar, I guess? I don't know. What do you want from me, Matt? You're full of it.
Person, anybody in the FBI who does forensic work, knows that if somebody died in water, the water scatters DNA molecules. It does not assemble them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I know
You're just wrong there, buddy.
I have a very smart cousin who is a scientist.
I totally know this guy who's smart. He's a scientist. Now watch as he says something stupid.
Went to like Columbia University, and we would have discussions even when I wasn't a Christian, but I was never an atheist. And going back to your question, Brandon, he definitely did not. I did not know.
I'll keep that in mind. My email's in the in my about section on my YouTube page. So shoot an email, check that. Fire away.
Any of that about water, so that's that really does.
That's new to me as well.
Yeah, that does add a lot to it.
But
I know that most, like what he would always say is that all these things that formed, like eyes, these were just mutations that happened to be bent.
Tigray, is the Discord link not in the in the video like description, it should be. I mean, I can generate a quick link here. It ain't gonna kill me. Let these clowns play while I do that. Just give me just a second.
Beneficial, whereas there are other mutations that happen to not be beneficial, and the beneficial ones just outlived and reproduced more than the other ones. And
Well, yeah, I mean, wouldn't you expect a beneficial mutation to be beneficial and to survive? I mean, come on, dude. Come on. What are you talking about? Y'all are fucking crazy, man. I mean, this is just common fucking sense. And there you go. Y'all are going to see this about 30 seconds later, but Discord, or hear this 30 seconds later. Discord link is posted in chat.
And that's how every single time a mutation happened that was beneficial, that one reproduced more than a different one. And that's why they need so much time for all this to work out. Just more and more time, add more and more time. Not that like the Earth, when you study
Everyone celebrate! Matt Powell is gone!
the Earth, actually agrees with them when it comes to the time issue.
Well, what are the
They edited as they got him back.
proofs, Matt, that you would use to debunk the materialist worldview from a creation perspective?
I think, like Stephen mentioned earlier, morality. All of us have a moral compass. And so that comes from somewhere that did not just evolve by random chance. We aren't robots like Darwin.
So Prick's cousin explains science to him and he ignores it because KJ Hovind! Exactly. I got a raging Hovind over here.
Claim. They believe that we are just robotic organisms that have no free will. Well, we do have free will. And some of us feel guilt about certain things that we do, which means that there must be a higher power who has designed us with morality ingrained into our DNA. And the Bible talks about how the law of God can be written in our hearts. We're talking about the Gentiles. And then also, I think that, I didn't really write out answers for these, but things that would debunk like a materialistic worldview would be, I think of things like creation itself. Let's say, for example, that I was to make the claim that this microphone.
Oh my god, same fucking thing. Yeah, and they always present it like it's the first time anyone's ever heard it. You're using a known artificial object that we have all knowledge of it being manufactured and being artificial to try to claim that all of nature is artificial. That is logically absurd, and you don't realize this, Matt, nor does Hovind, nor do any creationists, that ends up meaning that there is no difference between the artificial and the natural, and so your distinction falls apart completely.
Just poofed into existence. The matter and energy that makes this microphone just created itself, guys. Trust the science, trust the experts. Poof, here it is. Nobody would believe me. You'd say that's magic. Well, could the entire universe create itself from an infinitely dense hot point just exploding? Could all of matter and energy that we see, everything in the universe, all of the elements on the periodic table, could they have all just come from nothing? That would be
Stellar nucleosynthesis, numbnuts.
magic. So that, I believe, debunks the secularist or materialist.
Oh yes, the material, as Matt Powell just said, the materialist idea. It just like, I mean, is not everything made of matter? The matter is water matter? Tell me, Matt. Is it?
Worldview that naturalism can explain everything. It cannot. There had to have been an external force to create.
Mithril says, nope, in a mechanistic worldview, altruism and moral behavior is about survival of either the individual or the species. With Fasalis saying, the blind watchman argument has been disproven countless times. Yep.
The matter and energy that we see. As far as,
I don't know why I had to read that way, but it felt appropriate. They're just proven countless times. Like, you got to say it in like a ridiculing way to ridicule the fact that they bring it up, you know?
As a third reason, man, I would say the law of biogenesis. which states that life
Law of biogenesis? What is this, a Final Fantasy character? Final Fantasy VII. The balls within. Cloud must take on biogenesis. Oh wait! It's Sephiroth again! Oh! And now Korn presents their version of One-Winged Angel.
only begets life, life cannot come from non-life, that refutes a materialistic worldview, because materialists must believe that life descended from non-life. At some point, life came alive on its own. A lot of them will mock the virgin birth. They'll say that how is it that a virgin could conceive, but yet they believe a rock conceived?
Except we don't think some virgin conceived. Mary was a hoe bag. Yeah, I fucking said it. Up yours. We don't accept your story, dumbass. And this idea of rocks conceived is just, do the rocks bang on each other? Is that what they do? Are you just sitting there with your eyes closed, imagining rocks humping because real porn is too intense for you?
Non-living material altogether. So life had to have been designed by God. And we have evidence that suggests that life has not been here for billions of years, that we were created as separate organisms from different families of animals. We did not descend from primates. And like I said earlier, we didn't descend from fish. And if you look at mutation rates of creatures all throughout the world today, they trace back to about 6,000 years, which would be the time of the creation. And so I think those three things absolutely eviscerate the notion that materialism is even a possibility.
What about the people the Christians, who say that God guided evolution, and that it was all, it's basically trying to blend Darwinian stuff with the Bible?
Theistic evolution, right? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, in my opinion, there's a lot of them out there who claim that you can mix the two.
Yeah, and let's be clear. I'm all for pagan theologies. That stuff really. That's what I was before I went atheist. So yeah, I mean, go for it. I'm not gonna argue. I'm not gonna, fight against stuff, because that stuff I can jive with, especially since nothing I've seen in anyone's personal theologies has ever been as atrocious as anything from any of the more conventional religions, especially the Abrahamic ones. So the pagan crowd, the witchy witches, and all that jazz are totally welcome here. Like, you have no idea how amicable I am to all of that. It says in his soothing, calm voice rather than his manic asshole voice. It must be true. Totally. Blind Watchmaker's an old thing long before Dawkins, yeah. Rather have a common ancestor with the apes than freaking dirt. That's what your Bible teaches, yeah.
Right? But that puts death before sin, right? The Bible says, for us by one man sin entered into the world, and death by sin. And so death passed upon all men.
Wow, so your Bible must be wrong, dumbass.
And for that all have sinned. And so if you have death before sin, that's obviously a heresy. Mankind made mistakes, and that brought sin into the world. And so that's where death came from. But according to evolution, and even theistic evolution, death brought man into existence. Eventually, enough organisms had evolved and died off that finally, here we are. And it makes no sense. And to be honest, there are so many things that you have to believe if you accept theistic evolution. There's so many wild things that you're left to believe. For example, you could type it in right now if you're listening online to the viewer. Type in when monkeys surfed.
Here we go, the log raft bullshit. And I say bullshit in that they focus so much on this, and they look for anything that's a ridiculous pop sci title to try to go on stuff. The next thing he's going to bring up the dinosaurs farted themselves out into extinction crap. Good God. Talk about one-trick pony.
You'll find that according to evolution, monkeys surfed from Africa to South America.
It has nothing to do with evolution, beyond what would happen to the biological specimens after they would have made it there. I don't know the details on this, but it is more of an interesting little hypothesis than anything else, I can assure you.
34 million years ago on rafts, vegetation mats. In Darwinian evolution, many of them
And yes, I agree. He is a more condescending and arrogant prick than Kent is, because Matt is always in this. Hovind sort of switches modes.
claim that squids and octopi came from outer space, that they are aliens. A lot of people claim that our beards as men evolved from us getting punched in the face, and natural selection had to invent a cushion. I mean, these are the kind of
Takes random hypotheses and rolls with them as if they're the verified science.
hokey things that you have to accept if you are a theistic evolutionist. It is not worth compromising on, because you end up believing things that are so abundantly false and that are just absolutely ludicrous. I mean, look, if you get punched in the face, that's not going to cause your hair to grow. It's going to destroy your
There's the
follicle.
third one. We have the explosion, Big Bang, the lightning, and then we have punch in the face.
Getting
Good fucking God, y'all are pricks.
punched in the face.
Well,
Yeah, but
one
they have to
thing,
explain how like Darwinism has to explain, or even theistic evolution has to explain, okay, so we came from these primates. How in the world did we evolve beards?
well, how did we
According to
lose
many
all
of
of our
them, we were
fur?
punched.
Right? Isn't that the real question? If we came from primates, why did we lose our fur? Because that
We have the same number and placement of hair follicles as most of the great apes. It's generally identical. Hair growth is diminished on us. It's diminished a lot in the apes. That's kind of a trait of the apes. Diminished hair growth. We just took it a step further. We got to be sleek and smooth so we can run that little bit faster. Yeah. I mean, dude, just come on, dude. Come the fuck on.
just seems very, very beneficial, protecting you from everything, the elements. I mean, humans seem
Exactly.
just so fragile compared to any other, life form.
I guess their response would be that's the way God wanted it. But then it's like, well, okay, why didn't God just make things the way He wanted it
Keep in mind, they're talking about people who are theistic evolutionists. So they're in their own little realm of stuff now.
in the first place, right?
To me, what's always refuted that is just the whole 6 days of creation, because they will say that, like, they'll put millions of years in between each day. But even doing that, then you have in Genesis 1:11, God creates the grass and the herbs, but He doesn't create the sun until the next day. So you're going to put millions of years with grass and herbs and things that need the sun to grow, but then not give it the sun that it needs to grow until millions of years later. If that's the case, it doesn't work.
Yeah, it's so ludicrous. I mean, some of the stuff that they think is just really, and I'm not trying to judge any of them. There might even be some of them listening to this. There's no judgment here. I don't.
Interesting little comment from Mithril here. One of my great regrets is that my late dad, before he joined the clergy, had the chance to go down to a deep sea vent in a sub and he turned it down. I'd have loved to see the photos. That would have been, man, I'd be totally on that. I'd be totally on that. I'd be totally for a Titanic expedition. Oh, but Ocean Gate. I'm not going with those assholes. Also, I don't give a fuck about that sub collapsing. Too bad we lost a bunch of billionaires. Who gives a shit? Yeah, the dude's son died in it, but still, I don't give a fuck. The media is so obsessed with this thing, and it's like, why? All I care about is the fucking Titanic. Screw the people who died trying to go visit it after the fact. Fucking morons. I really don't care either. But yeah, deep sea stuff does fascinate me. Although I am scared to death of the ocean, the large bodies of water actually do terrify me. I feel I could get over that. And if I'm in the sub, I mean, if something happens, I won't know it. And if I have a good time, then I have a good time. Same common ancestor as the great apes. We evolved from the common ancestor, not the great apes. Well, technically, we are a great ape. We are apes. So one can argue, depending on how you define the great apes, or we share, the ancestors with if you don't branch all of them together. I mean, the great apes are, I forget the exact classification. So maybe not. I don't know. Great Sunday morning, sitting in truck, making scrambled eggs and watching Yamato. Hell yeah. Yamato, I don't know. I prefer Yamato, but you know. Let's continue with these clowns because we're only halfway through.
Creationists, we don't think that we're better than anyone else. It's just that we accept the evidence for what it is. And the evidence shows us that all of these theories that monkeys surfed the ocean blue.
Yeah, your theology sucks, Matt. Oh, look at the baby face. Oh, that's the fucking. Well, shit. I guess it doesn't really matter if the Windows thing isn't. Well, let me move my mouse cursor. There we go. There's our screenshot. There's the thumbnail. Babyface Matt Powell.
34 million years ago, or that squids and octopi came from outer space, crash landed on Earth. Or
Look at this. He's just taking random pop sci of the past 10 years. Just random shit that most people take a look at and just are like, well, anyone scientifically literate just takes a look at it and is like, oh, okay. Yeah, you keep on thinking that. And he's just rolling with it like it's fact.
Our beards evolved from punches to the face. All of those are easily disprovable and thus should make it apparent that evolution should be rejected. Even if you are not a Christian, it's not rational to believe in evolution. It's not. It is.
Well, T. Greg, God knew time, so there you go. That's how that worked. It's so fucking stupid.
Absolutely, demonstratively false, I believe.
It reminds me
even
of
what you said. Sorry, even what you said about
Shut the hell up, counterfeit Adam the Woo.
Things crash landing here. That's just diverging the question. Yeah. The whole panspermia thing. It's like, well, where did that come from? Yeah, they can't answer it.
Steven, what were we gonna say?
Here's the thing you guys probably don't like to think about is the fact that all the key chemicals for life are found readily out in the cosmos. So panspermia concepts aren't even that crazy. We're talking, something surviving on asteroid impacts and the like, which metric fuck tons happen in the Earth's early history. There you go. I'm not saying life popping from one planet to another is a big deal. This is the thing. But what I am saying is these chemicals seem to be pretty damn common. So it only seems sensible that you have a whole big ass pool to try against that stuff would start going. And once it starts, it don't stop. Once it stops, it stops.
Oh, it reminds me of the
Once you pop, the fun don't stop. God damn it, I'm so full of 90s like commercial jingles and shit. Fuck you, 90s, you ruined my brain.
Watchmaker analogy, which is something so complex and intricate as a watch, shows that somebody had to have made this watch. And
no, we know the watch was made because we know that watches are made, and we know that watches are not natural. What you're trying to say is that the watch is natural because everything is natural, because everything is also artificial, in that you've destroyed the line between natural and artificial, yet simultaneously are using natural and artificial to judge the nature of reality. It's really fucking stupid, and you really need to stop.
We have human beings, we have the universe, we have the earth, and all the things in it. It's by design. And I'm a respiratory therapist, I work in...
If I need help with my shitty lungs and you're the guy helping me, I am walking out that place.
In a hospital, and I deal with people's lungs, you see God's...
Yes, and you don't pray and hope that it just magically fixes them. You actually go in and do something.
Pattern, you have an artist... Lotan, you're an artist. I'm sure you put your style into things. God's an artist. We see his signature everywhere. You have in your lungs.
No, you don't.
What's called the bronchial tree. We breathe in oxygen. We breathe out CO2, which is what the trees need. And it's just very clear that it's all made by design. Like, how can you just...
No, it's not.
Say that was just by chance.
We need to address the flood of Noah.
It's not by chance. It's emergent based on the nature of reality of the compounds we're working with and of the way things worked. It's not so much by chance as it is a deterministic possibility based on the nature of actual chemistry.
So, Matt, obviously, well, I shouldn't say obviously. What's your view? Was it a local flood or a worldwide flood?
Yeah, the Bible says in Genesis that all the hills that were under the whole heaven were covered. And so the Bible says 15 cubits upward, the waters prevail, and the mountains were covered. And so I believe that it was a global flood. And I think there's a lot of evidence for that. Like we find whales on mountains. You got to ask, how did they get there? These
Well, probably because those mountains were once the ocean floor, dumbass.
are sea-dwelling animals. On the top of certain mountains, we find oysters, some that are as big as cars on the Andes Mountains.
Same thing.
How is that possible? Yeah, they're found in the closed position, which means they were catastrophically buried.
They're not what you think they are either. They're their own thing.
Man, we find so much evidence. We find whales in the Sahara Desert. I mean,
Really? I didn't know this.
Yeah, I'm
yes,
Googling it right at the second. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, there's sections of it where you find them where, once the fucking ocean, dude. The planet's changed over time. And it's funny, they act like this is so surprising. I don't get it.
feel free to pull it up. And for anybody online, feel free to fact check any of this. Feel free to fact check anything.
Oh, don't worry, Matt. We do. Oh, we fucking do, you ass monkey. My mouse did that double click thing. Eventually, I will buy a new mouse, I promise.
And I'm saying I do want people to know this is all stuff you can verify. You can look it up. Don't just take my word for it. We find just massive amounts of flood evidence. We find in the center of the United States.
COPD, and I don't want that mofo anywhere near me. I agree, Mithril. I agree. Stay the hell away from my friends. And you don't say water as effective as the Hoven. Nah, they'll never get around to it. They can't say water. It's called mountain orogenesis, orogenous, you utter knob. We have a mechanism for it. Thank you. I did not know that. He's saying, my flood did it. Yeah, exactly. My flood. It's on my flood. The layers and the tidal pumping like I pumped Hovind every night. Yeah, I'm at Pal 420. I don't know.
States over near Montana, dinosaurs that are actually buried with sharks. Now, keep in mind, the United States, the center of the United States is hundreds of miles from the coast. And so what?
It wasn't always, dumbass.
Carry sharks from the ocean all the way to the center of the United States to be able to bury sharks with dinosaurs and with sea life, crustaceans, alligators, mammals. That had to have been a global flood.
Can I divert a minute and 50 seconds by sharing a screen and an old video that I never showed anyone before? I called it like Mr. Ordinary and Mr. Science, and they're talking.
Oh dear God. Buckle up, everyone. Oh, this is going to be a goddamn gem.
And the question that they're answering is, how old is the Earth? And the science guy, he's talking about all these just facts that we have, like, we know the Earth is old because we have fossils. We have, fossils that could only exist through millions and millions and millions of years of, like, gigantic pressure. And then the ordinary guy, he's just like, yeah, I think it's about 4,000 years old. And the guy's like, that's preposterous. Like, what evidence do you have? And he just looks at the scientist and he says, everything you just said. Because the whole idea is all that stuff can also just happen from a flood that had so much pressure all out.
No, the nature of every single piece of geologic strata and fossil record and every single thing in no way matches your flood. Your flood would be disorganized, to say the least. You can't have it both ways. Either it's catastrophic or it's not. Whereas a gradative process over literally thousands of millennia will result in what we see.
One point, you have animals, fossils of animals that are eating something, or I think like they're
Maybe it was eating and it choked on it and fucking died. and then was fossilized. Maybe that's what happened, you dumbass.
Giving birth, or just all these weird things as if something suddenly happened.
Yeah, the sudden thing happening was it fucking died. And then shit sinks, and then the process happens. You'd think we'd find all this all the time if your flood happened, because there's a pretty big world out there.
As if they got caught in a mudslide and the pressure.
And the sheer volume of fossils that we don't find is another thing. We should find so much stuff that we don't constantly. You should just find a flood layer and it'd just be chock full of everything, but you don't.
Just formed this. I mean, you have fish. How do you have fossils of fish? Fish float when they're dead, and you like require. I mean, fish.
Ask the scientist. I don't exactly have an explanation for it at the moment my own self. But see, the difference is I will acknowledge that. And I have seen fish sink. Not all fish float. Depends on conditions, depends on the way their swim bladders are doing, depends on a lot of things. So I may have just answered the question my own self with that alone. I don't know. How about you ask the experts, dumbass?
With all their skins and their scales, it seems like something happened so fast that caused so many like mudslides. And we have trees that have been, found that are penetrating, like standing vertical, penetrating layers of rock.
Those are all the same geologic layer. And they're not trees, fuckwad.
Sedimentary rock that are supposed to be millions of years apart. And you have one tree just in it, petrified. So all these evidences of an old Earth can all actually be attributed to a massive worldwide flood event. That was the point of this little badly animated 1 minute video.
I have a question. I was taught in public school about Pangea. Do you guys subscribe to that as a thing? Matt, what do you think?
Where the whole Earth was one continent.
All the continent was all and then
we've had quite a few ultimate supercontinents. Pangea, I think, being just the most recent.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that it's possible. I don't know that necessarily.
I mean, there's a rift section about 5 miles below me that was a failed splitting of what would become the North American plate, but it predates Pangea, if memory serves. That's a trip to think about. I am above a spot where the continent at that time tried to rip apart. It didn't, and then the area filled in.
Really subscribe to it. I would say I wasn't there, so I don't know for sure. It looks like it could have actually split. Like I've seen models where people have tried to put the continents together. And it looks like
see, here we go, and that's why he left Dinosaur Adventureland, because he disagrees with the whole event.
Might fit. So I'm kind of undecided, but one thing is for sure that there was a global flood, and if Pangea did take place, you would have had continental sprint happening and catastrophic plate tectonics occurring and causing mountains to form, causing whales to get placed on top of mountains, causing all sorts of sea life to get formed or to get fossilized on mountaintops. I think of Mount Everest, which is actually the tallest mountain in the world. They got up.
Thank you, Mithril. See, it's amazing. I can just, go through and I'm like, okay, I don't know offhand, but my brain starts firing. What do I know about fish? Well, the reason they're going to float is a swim bladder. That's how they control their buoyancy. So what if there's an issue with the swim bladder? Hey, wait a minute. Issues with swim bladders. I've had fish. I've had a lot of betas, and they've kind of gone one way or the other, sadly, because for some reason I can't take care of the beautiful little creatures. I suck at keeping fish. I've had goldfish, and I've seen them, go south, pun intended. So maybe it's an issue with the swim bladder. That would be my first guess. And then you come back and you're like, yep. I'm like, okay, cool. See, I thought it through. Instead of just being like, well, how do you explain this? I thought, well, let's figure it out.
To the peak of it, and they found fossilized clams in the closed position. How is that possible?
Those are general brachiopods. They're not clams. They're going to behave by their own rules.
Possible. Only Noah's flood could have formed Mount Everest. Such a huge mountain would have had to have been caused by a catastrophic inundation to the Earth's crust.
No.
Well, I wanted to pull up this video that Matt put out recently. I wanted to see if he
Oh,
could explain it for people who are watching. He says
seriously, we don't need a Matt Powell video inside of a Matt Powell video. God damn.
one photo confirms the Bible's flood story. So let me find this photo.
It's actually towards the beginning.
Oh, it's the beginning. Oh, okay, here it is.
So yes, this photo actually does confirm.
Oh, yes, this same random polystrat fossil image, which, by the way, only creationists call them that they claim somehow. Yeah, let's just let them explain their stupid bullshit.
The flood story, because they claim in evolution that coal takes millions of years to form. If you notice on the bottom, you have a coal seam, the bottom arrow. Top arrow points to a coal seam as well. Well, they claim that each seam takes millions of years to form. Well,
yeah, after they're buried. The initial burial could have been a trivially rapid thing in and of itself. Which, yes, I know sounds like it's going towards your flood thing, but hear me out. These particular they're a type of club moss, if memory serves, something in that family. These polystrate trees, these things tend to grow in very, very what would be very swampy areas, and so you have a lot of sedimentation happening relatively quickly. And then as geologic pressure continues with what's already been sedimented, you're going to get it buried in such a way that there you go. You got the pockets of the material that will coalify, and there you go. Also, they're still not different geological layers. They're still the same geologic time span, buddy.
how is it that you have a 30-foot or 30-plus foot tree connecting two coal seams?
Like, I mean, do these guys know that grass didn't exist when the dinosaurs were around? The ground was more mossy. You didn't have your conventional grasses as we know them. They're younger than the dinosaurs. And trees were their own affair. I mean, plant life was very different, and that these are not those same kind of plants that they're thinking they are.
If it takes millions of years for a coal seam to form, millions of years for all that sediment in between to accumulate, and then millions of years up at the top for the coal to form, that tree would not exist in that state. It would have rotted and broken down, deteriorated. The fact that you have a tree that connects to coal seams shows that there was a catastrophic flood that caused coal to rapidly form, not over millions of years, and sediment layers to form around the tree that was still intact, and then another layer of coal formed up on top while the tree was still non-decayed material still standing in that position. And in fact, we find some trees that are upside down going through.
I find your interpretation pathetic. Also, Matt, you'll notice in those kinds of unconformities that everything seems a little messed up, as if the entire once normal mass has shifted.
Multiple layers. Trees don't grow upside down. So what happened? They got ripped out by the flood, floated around, became waterlogged, flipped upside down, went into these layers, and then those layers solidified into sedimentary rock. That is absolutely...
Oh, yeah, and there's a very good point. Mauna Loa in Hawaii is the tallest mountain. They can't even tell the difference between tallest and highest.
a confirmation of Noah's flood, of a globally catastrophic flood.
Right. When you say coal seam, you mean like a layer of coal in the whatever that's called.
I love how the buy me coffee thing is it looks like dude's having to look around it. By the way, if you want to toss a few shekels my way, follow that link.
The layers of the earth.
Right. And some coal seams are actually over 100 feet thick. And so how in the world would you get a coal seam, just one seam that's 100 feet thick? Think how tall that is. That means that there must have been a massive amount of vegetation getting smashed together in a massive event. A 100-foot coal seam means a globally catastrophic flood. Once again, Noah's flood is basically something that I accept by fact. Of course, I accept the Bible by faith, but I accept Noah's flood by fact as well, because it did happen and it disproves
No, it didn't.
Evolution. It disproves everybody who claims that it did not happen. All of the scientists on TV, many of which who claim that there's more than two genders, are all wrong about transgenderism and about Noah's
Let me just bring up something else that's a typical Republican talking point. Fuck you, Maddie Bowlett, with your inflatable banana in your backyard. You call Dr. Peel. You make love to every night.
flood. They all say it's a myth, but we all know, all of us on this panel, anyways, know that it is a fact of geology, and we have the evidence. Like in this picture, for example.
No, it's not, because if it was, they would just say, "Oh, yep, that flood happened." I mean, what's the end goal? Why? What benefit would there be? You claim they lie to make money, but it's like, but isn't being religious the way to make money? And wouldn't they still be getting funding to study this stuff? I mean, come on. It's insane. But, they have an agenda.
To back that up.
I don't know about you guys, but when I think about the reality of these things happening, it kind of gives me chills. And I get like kind of scared about God's power taking over the whole earth and flooding it. And
God's a dick. It's a figment of your imagination that's a shitty, pathetic, petty character written by shitty, pathetic people. That's why you like it so much, because you're shitty and pathetic.
just, yeah, like it's real, you know?
Mm-hmm. I have greatly erred, Matt. Look at me. I'm not subscribed to you, and I haven't even liked this video, which I've watched.
Oh man, you gotta like, subscribe, and all that.
I don't have a strong opinion on this subject. Not what we're talking about, but what's your opinion on dinosaurs? Can I ask you that?
So absolutely. What science has actually shown us is that dinosaurs lived recently. They existed with man. The reason that we know that for a fact is because we find dinosaur blood cells that are still intact.
Oh, there we go. The Mary Schweitzer research. No, we don't, Matt. We find particular tissues, which will include, some blood, I think, that are in a semi-preserved state that can be, for lack of a better term, rehydrated under very particular conditions and made soft again. Soft-ish. But they're not preserved. And Mary Schweitzer has expressed repeatedly that you assholes need to stop lying about her and her team's research. But that's all you can do is lie.
And so the question becomes, could one blood cell last for even 1 million years? Absolutely not. It would have broken down, deteriorated. So we find dinosaur nerve cells. We find.
Can you do the math to demonstrate this, Matt? Can you actually work this out at all? Now let's add in some variables and let's see where your calculations change.
Collagen inside of dinosaur graves, which is
you really don't.
The soft material that's inside of our bone.
And again, you'd think that if this stuff was so recent and so prevalent, you would find it all the time. And again, you don't. Very specific samples that were obviously under very specific conditions.
Wears out very fast when we die, right? We're finding all sorts of biological material in dinosaur graves that would have worn out if they truly died 65 million years ago, which is what they claim. So it's consistent. In the Hell Creek Formation, we found a T-Rex. We broke open the bone of the T-Rex, the femur, I believe, and found blood vessels. And some scientists have even said blood vessels were sticking out of the bones as they're excavating them. These creatures.
But they're fossilized, Matt. These wouldn't have been bones.
Lived recently. Interesting enough, we found Triceratops blood cells in those graves that I mentioned.
Now I think you're just making shit up, dude.
And the blood cells are arranged in a way that shows that they died from drowning. So not only do we find blood cells from these animals, which are supposedly millions of years old, again, blood can't last that long. Not only that, we find that they died from drowning. The blood cells are clotted.
It helps if I don't click and press the space bar at the same time. Why do I punish myself with these idiots who are 100% wrong all the time? Well, there is, and I won't even lie, there's the side effect of money, because, a few shekels coming in isn't bad. But it is primarily for the entertainment value to everyone, for me to continue to have opportunities to articulate myself and advanced ways. And I don't know, it's just become a thing I do.
Because a lot of Darwinists try to say, well, we found these graves, and yeah, sure, they died and they were fossilized, but they didn't drown. Well, if you look at their blood cells, they died from asphyxiation.
Wow.
Do you have videos on that?
Really? Even given all that, it couldn't just be the fact that blood is going to naturally deoxygenate as the creature, is fucking dead. Dumbass.
Yeah, I have actual photo evidence and
That's
also
awesome.
videos on this subject.
All right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've actually debated secular humanists and atheists on this, and I think they've pretty much given up.
That's
Not
great.
because I'm a
I
great
can't
debater,
wait to
but
watch them.
because what's that?
I can't wait to watch them.
Yeah, if you want a good one, I think one of the oldest ones that I did, it was kind of fun. It was this with this guy, the raging atheist. He came out swinging, saying that he's going to beat me in a debate. He's challenging me, and so I finally took him up on it. And at the end of the debate, he cried, and I kind of felt bad
Really? I have my doubts.
for him because he was crying because he was so upset that he really wasn't able to defend Darwinism. But it's such an indefensible position that it is absurd to try to defend it. Imagine defending the position
Defend the Bible then, Matt. How about you try that?
that you descended from a rock. There's really no way to honestly defend it. And I've always said that evolution is impossible to defend honestly. You have to lie, you have to make things up. And so,
Say it with me, everyone. Projection.
yeah, with regards to the dinosaurs, we have a lot of evidence that shows that they lived recently. They had to have existed with man. We've even found mummified nodosaur that still had its intestines intact. So the question becomes, could intestines of any animal last for millions of years?
Interesting.
Intestines that are found that are intact. It's absolutely amazing, the evidence that we have that supports biblical creation.
These things.
Mr. Logo popping in. How you doing, buddy? With no, they didn't find some blood. They found structures the size, I should stress, of blood cells. And they found single collagen molecules enough to bind an antibody to. So very, very minimal material.
Things are not hitting mainstream news, are there? Because I've never heard of these things. Like, you would think these would be huge discoveries, right?
And most people think when you mention it that you're making it up. They think nobody has ever discovered that. Where did you learn that? Well, if you
And Logo adding in that Professor Schweitzer used hydrofluoric acid to digest the silicates. All their so-called soft tissue is hard stone. Fascinating.
look at the paleontologists that are out in the field, they're finding these things. If you look at geology, all of this information is out there. It's just how we interpret it. Darwinists will say that blood cells lasted for millions of years because they were protected somehow.
No, creationists will say that that's what people say.
But really, for millions of years, it's still impossible. If
And
I
also,
took DNA...
sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No,
Oh, but Noah's Ark survived. Yeah, see, Ron Wyatt found it. Yeah, see.
oh, I was just gonna say, with dinosaurs specifically, our science, our so-called science, is biased as well, and there have
Oh yeah, absolute load of shit.
been, like when dinosaur bones were first being discovered, there were races because you got to, like, if you discovered a new species of dinosaur, you got to name it. And so you have all these new species of dinosaurs just, being dug up. And then it turns out that a lot of them are just the same dinosaur, not just rearranged differently, but like how birds, their skulls will change as they grow older. It seems like, there are...
No, turning Powell or Hovind into a drinking game would lead to death through alcohol intoxication.
There are a lot of similarities with dinosaur bones, like, being hollow and stuff. And so a lot of these dinosaurs were actually the exact same dinosaur, just as it grew older, its form would change slightly. And so there probably wasn't as many different species as they say that there were, but I mean, to me, when I found that out, it shows the bias in the science. Scientists are just as fast to want to put their name on something, and I don't blame them. Can you imagine you've been working your whole life and you believe something, and then you make a discovery, and your entire career is based on this discovery, and you've been teaching it for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and then some other scientist comes along, completely disproves it, but you've made connections throughout your life, and you're going to do everything you can to pull those connections and not have that new information come forward.
Boy, every accusation is an admission with these guys, isn't it?
You know,
What's interesting, it just made me think of Job chapter 40, talking about
Laura, yes.
behemoth. And the theory of behemoth is that it's a brachiosaurus, right? It's the giant one with the long neck and the big tail. If we look at behold now behemoth,
Nimrod, yes.
which I made with thee, he eateth grass as an ox. Yada yada yada. He moveth his tail like a cedar.
Moveth his tail like a cedar, indicating the swaying motion. It in no way, shape, or form describes the size, the mass, the girth of this. You people are illiterate. Go back to kindergarten.
The snows of his stones are wrapped together. And then surely the
Yeah, also note the external genitals. That's a mammalian trait. It's a hippo or a fucking elephant.
mountains bring him forth food where all the beasts of the field play. Even the scripture like testifies of what this would be like a dinosaur. What are your guys' thoughts?
Or, an elephant.
Moves his tail like a cedar, right? So what animal could meet that description? What animal
I don't know. Probably a hippo or an elephant.
has the tail that's the size of a cedar tree?
It did not say in any way, shape, or form that it was the size, you illiterate pricks. I'm going to hold you assholes to this because this is one of the easiest things that anyone listening to you should realize. Wait a minute, they're fucking lying.
Right.
According to theistic evolutionists, they claim that behemoth is a hippopotamus, but that would be impossible. He doesn't move his tail like a cedar tree. It's more like a twig.
It sways. It twitches in such a way. It does have movement similar to a tall cedar, which are notably flexible, bending in the wind.
So it's just so ludicrous. The claims that they make are so false that, it was a hippo
that is
or an
interesting.
alligator.
I never thought of the fact that there's like no other animal that has that tail. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, elephants. Just saying. Elephant. Did I mention elephant? Because elephant.
That makes a lot of sense. What were you going to say, Matt, about DNA?
I was going to say, even if you took DNA, because atheists will look at the blood cells, they'll look at the nerve cells of dinosaurs, and they will say, certainly this was preserved for millions of years. And so my argument is this, that if you took DNA and you sealed it in an airtight jar and put that airtight jar in another airtight jar and another airtight jar, it's still going to break down. It's still going to wear out. No matter how we seal food and can it even, it still breaks down. Biological material. And dinosaurs...
Except, once again, it may be ridiculously prohibitive, but there are ways to preserve damn near anything. Figure out just the right set of conditions. That's neither here nor there because your presumption of what was actually discovered is incorrect. Also, Matt, I would like to introduce you to the typical honey of a bee. It doesn't go bad. It doesn't break down. Honey buried with pharaohs is literally perfectly safe to eat today. Yep, your head around that one, fuckface.
that have died out are biological material. They are not going to survive for millions.
I know more than the experts. I am Matt Powell.
And millions of years. We found blood cells or DNA in a dinosaur that was supposedly 115 million years old. It's impossible for it to have existed that long ago. And, like Stephen read, behold now behemoth, which I made with thee. God said, I made him with you. He eateth grass as an ox. He moveth his tail like a cedar. And like you said, Brandon, There's no other creature that fits those descriptions. And yeah, interesting.
He's Elephant the elephant, see him go. Na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na.
Interestingly enough, real quick, dinosaurs, they claimed in evolution that could not have been dinosaurs because they thought for a long time that dinosaurs never saw grass because grass hadn't evolved yet. They hadn't found.
Yeah, a hippo or an elephant is ludicrous, but a dinosaur isn't. We didn't even know what dinosaur was until the 19th century. It was coined in 1841. Yeah, they called them dragons back then, don't you know?
it in the
And
fossil
some are still alive in the Congo swamp, Mokekle Mbembe and Wamalama Ding Dong. Yeah, over.
record. So they said there's no way that this could be talking about a dinosaur, a behemoth, because there wasn't grass yet. Well, we actually analyzed.
If Matt Powell's brain is in a mason jar inside a mason jar inside a mason jar, it's still a potato.
Coprolites, which is dinosaur poop, that somehow lasted 65 million years. And we found it. And it contained grass. And so they had to rewrite their story and show that grass had evolved when dinosaurs were around and that dinosaurs did in fact eat munchy helpings or something like that, it says in their papers.
I'll need to look into this further since I did bring up the whole grass thing earlier, but still, it's not modern grass.
Grass. And so now they admit that dinosaurs ate.
Even if it is conventional grass. It's showing something at least of interest here. Don't know the source. I'll look into it.
Grass. But before, they laughed at it. But the Bible already told us. So the Bible is ahead of science. And it is truly inspired of God.
Amen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That actually brings up one of my last questions here is we can show evidence of creation through all these scientific things, but that doesn't necessarily prove to the atheist mind that the Bible has all the answers, right? It could be, what about...
The Bible has no answers, even to its own questions. And yes, of course, Matt Powell is into fossilized shit. Origins of grasses, according to our friend ChatGPT, Poaceae, 100 to 70 million years ago, late Cretaceous. So it's been the tail end of the dinosaurs' reign, as I thought. But grasslands, totally different. Grasses existing does not equal grasses dominating. Grasslands did not become widespread until 25 to 5 million years ago. That's the Miocene epoch. This coincides with global cooling and drying, expansion of open habitats, evolution of grazing mammals, rise of C4 grasses, which are better at handling low CO2 and heat. So these would have been early grasses, yeah, at best.
Judaism, who have the Old Testament, right? Or what about...
And we say grasses in a, in just a casual sense.
I'm not sure what the Quran holds.
And yes, Matt is most definitely saying that the science changing is a bad thing. That's the creationist view. And yeah, of course you don't know what the Quran says, because if you did, you'd be Muslim. Because I'm going to be real. If any of the Abrahamic faith is correct, Islam would be the conclusion to it. So get fucked, Christians. That's another thing that kills me is like, oh, they'll take book 1 and book 2, but they won't take book 3. How cute.
As creation, but in general, like how do we know the Bible is the correct lens to be looking at everything? How do we know the Bible, the Christian Bible, is true?
You don't. You just make it up as you go along.
True.
Absolutely. I'll give you the cliff notes as quick as I can. So I would say that the reason that the Bible is true is because it's a self-authenticating book. For example, the flood happened.
That's not how truth works.
If we have the evidence that shows that it happened, everybody else disbelieves in it, but we have the proof that shows that it did. The Bible said that it happened. Jesus said that it happened. Jesus referenced the flood as a matter of fact. That means that the Bible has authenticated itself.
Yeah, now, did anyone else, outside of your storybook do this? See, that's the thing. You're trying to use the claim to justify the claim. It's completely circular. In fact, it's not even circular. It's point reasoning. Oh, this book says it, so it must be true.
Also think of the fact that Jesus really existed. 98.9% of scholars all believe that Jesus was a real person.
No, they don't.
And Jesus' death through crucifixion undeniable fact of history. Even atheists.
No, it didn't happen. Your Jesus never fucking existed. I'm a full-on mythicist. Up to the point that obviously some group somewhere had some stuff going on that was the predecessor to the religion, but I think the story is that of a completely fictional character made up after the fact, specifically to act as a central figure to this mythos, possibly to protect the memories of the memories and identities of those who were actually involved in this early on, that their children and such, who would have still been alive at the time the first gospels would have been written, which was a lifetime after this supposed Jeebus, which is more than enough time in an era before photographs and anything else, where everything was just written story, that you could say whatever you wanted, and who's going to verify it?
Will acknowledge that he died on the cross and that he came back to life. A lot of them believe that he didn't come back to life, but let me say this. The fact that people in Rome were willing to die because they claimed to see Jesus, who was...
Wow. The people in the Heaven's Gate cult just knew that the UFO was hiding behind the comet Hale-Bopp, and they were willing to die for it. Many, but not all, of the people of Jonestown were willing to die and commit revolutionary suicide, as Jim put it, so that the government couldn't take them, because Russia wasn't an option after Leo Ryan was conveniently killed at the Port Kaitume airport. Were those people right, Kent, Matt? Were the people who did the gas attacks in the Japanese subways in '95? Shinryoku or something like that? I could be having completely wrong. Were they correct? Because some of them eventually died for what they believed in. Were the people in Waco right, Matt? They died what they believed in. Of course, they did it to themselves, but still, they died for what they believed in, didn't they? So they were right. Which means David Koresh was the Messiah. Why aren't you worshiping David Koresh? Huh? Why aren't you doing that, Matt? Why the fuck aren't you doing that? They died. Huh? Or does your logic not fucking work, you dumbass?
Was once dead, risen from the dead. The fact that they were willing to die for that message means that they must have seen Jesus risen again. The Bible says he was seen of over 500 brethren at once. And so the Christians in the first century, the reason that they were being fed to lions and killed was because they were making the claim to have seen Jesus come back to life, that he was resurrected from the dead.
Wow, and it's just what you've got, a claim and nothing else, dumbass.
And they believed it so much that they would not recant as they're being fed to lions. Put yourself in their shoes for a minute. These are people in the Roman Empire, just after Jesus had died and resurrected, that were being fed to lions, all because they made the claim that they had seen Jesus. Not just that they believed in him, but they had seen him risen again, that they had the evidence that he came back from the dead. And in a court of law today, one of the ways that we know that something is verifiable or not is if you have multiple witnesses. If 10 people...
Witness testimony was some of the worst evidence, my guy.
Come forward and say, I saw this.
And this is a thing with stupid people, all right? I deal with in my day-to-day life. They think because they saw something particular, or they think they saw something that is just absolute fact, when you literally present them with evidence to the contrary. You can present them with a fucking video of the event having occurred, or the actual text messages or something, or audio or something, and they'll still say, no, that isn't what happened. It's like, yes, it is. The human memory is completely fallible. It sucks. Eyewitness testimony fucking sucks.
At this time, and those witnesses line up, that's a legitimate thing that you're going to accept.
Of course, these are the same kinds of idiots who think eyewitness testimony for what they believe, people believe they heard and saw during 9/11, where they describe things a certain way, somehow concrete proof of their fucking conspiracies. Guys, people are fucking stupid.
And somebody will be convicted or set free based on that information. And so, if you have hundreds of people, or even thousands of people going to their graves for
Shinrikyo, thank you.
This thing that they're claiming that...
You know, there was an anime made off the guy, right? The guy behind it was executed like, I forget exactly when, but it was relatively recently. Who ran that cult? Yeah, they were like fucking anime and stuff made after him. Man, he'd be doing his yoga pose and just flying. Man, that's some Kim Jong Il shit. Forget General uses warp from DPRK. That's the real magic right there, man. And he had photos to prove it.
They saw the dead Christ risen again. That is proof in and of itself that the New Testament is authentic and that it is trustworthy and that we can rely on it. It would take more faith to reject the New Testament than to believe in it and accept it. Scholars know that the New Testament is actually the most well-documented group of documents in the world.
You're just so fucking full of it. Oh, yeah. Do you love the smell of your own farts, Matt? Because you are just so fucking full of it, dude. God damn.
And they will admit that, which is why 98.9% of scholars believe that Jesus existed. And so
No, they don't. Maybe you're biblical scholars.
the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus shows that the New Testament and that the Bible is true. If I wanted to learn about Islam, I'd have to go to the Quran, right, to learn about Muhammad. If I wanted to learn about Judaism, I'd go to the Jewish Talmud, right? If I want to learn about Jesus and about Christianity, where am I going to go? The Bible. The Bible has the answers. And so King James.
I'd rather read Wikipedia because it's going to put shit in context of the real fucking world.
Specifically, amen. There are people who claim that other religions could be true or we could just put our faith somewhere else. Look, the reason that we know that we can trust the Bible is because of his death, burial, and resurrection, but also because there is only salvation by faith or works. Most other religions say you've got.
Let us note this part. Who are they actually talking to? Because the only people who are going to watch this are other Christians. All they're doing here is self-flating. They're doing this reassurance that they always fucking do, and they spend, a quarter of any sermon or anything doing this because they know good and goddamn well the seeds of doubt from natural human curiosity and natural humans' ability to put two and two together and come up with something other than 27 is going to take hold. And they don't want that. So they do these little placations of like, yep, you're thinking the right thing. Look at all of them nod. Yeah, I'm feeling it. Because they want you to kind of forget everything that was said here. They want you to remember that it was said, but not what was said. Because if you remember it too well, you're going to think about it. If you think about it enough, you might just realize they're full of shit.
Got to be good enough to make it to God. But the Bible tells us God came down from heaven to save us. That's the blessed assurance that we have as Christians. There's only.
Yeah, I'm better than your God. More real and more powerful. So, fuck you.
Two concepts of religion. There's people who do things to earn salvation, like all other religions of this world.
Like you.
World.
Hey, Matt. While it's suggested that strongly suggested that you follow the additional tenets of it, Islam only requires making heartfelt one particular statement. That there is no God but Allah. And technically speaking, Matt, I don't know, crazy fucking weird. Again, I've mentioned there's issues. Don't get me wrong, but I'm partial to Islam in the Abrahamic trilogy because it's like, well, that's your third act. That's your part where that's the most recent one that isn't a total crock of shit. They're all a crock of shit, but it isn't Joseph Smith. Technically speaking, as an atheist, one could say that statement insofar as the conditional of if there was a deity, that would technically make the person Muslim and technically would would meet the base criteria for a positive outcome. It's a twist. It's a weird kind of logic. But it checks out. Granted, no Muslim cleric would really accept that, but they would probably find it interesting if they weren't, on the more extreme side of things. My point is, Matt, is that you act like other religions are all just works-based and all require this, that, the other, but Christianity is the only thing with this. No. Actually, most religions are the other way around, where it really is more of an acceptance philosophy. So, just saying.
And there are those of us who are saved who have taken Jesus at his promise, that he hath promised us even eternal life, and we put our faith and trust in him to save us. And so these are reasons why Christianity is true. Like I said, Comparison is a great way to know whether something is true or false. We can compare our faith to all of the other religions of this world, and all of the other religions are pompous in the sense that they want to earn their own salvation. They want to boast in how good they are. But the Bible tells us, as it is written, there is none righteous, no, not one. So none of us can be arrogant about that. All we can do is accept what Jesus did on the cross for us, his death, burial, and resurrection. And just as Noah was warning people and saying, guys, get on the boat. There's going to be a tremendous flood. It's going to destroy the earth. People were laughing at him. They mocked him, right? They said, you're a lunatic, Noah. You're crazy. The floodwaters came in, destroyed people, wreaked havoc on the earth. Just as Noah was warning people, we're also warning people about God's coming judgment. We have the evidence to show that he judged in the past, and we know that his word is trustworthy. So when he said he's going to do it again, I believe him. And so when he said that the elements will melt with a fervent heat, you better believe that's absolutely going to take place. There is a real heaven, there is a real hell, and that's why we're having this discussion today.
Prove it, motherfucker.
Yeah. And I think most, I guess, atheists or anybody else watching who's not saved don't realize how serious God takes sin. That's like one of the biggest themes of the entire Bible is sin. What separates us?
Yeah, once again, what is sin? Put it in a jar, paint it red, set it on the shelf. Let me see it, fuckface.
And that's why Jesus came. The severity of our sin is found at the cross, that the Son of God had to die for our sins, for us. And yeah.
Okay, well, first off, I didn't ask the motherfucker to, not that it happened, but I didn't ask the motherfucker to, and if they did that for us, then it's an automatic given, so your criteria are irrelevant. If it's conditional, then he didn't do it for us, he did it for his own damn self. So, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, who's next?
We don't even understand.
Name that reference.
How big of a deal our sin is in the eyes of God. If there was any other way, surely God would have done that, right? For us to get back to God, but he gave his only son, whom he loves, for us. And if you're watching,
but his son was also himself, so he really sacrificed himself to himself as a loophole for rules he made. How does that work?
And you never heard that before. That's what the Bible's all about.
No, we live in the Western world, and we've never heard the story of magical Jewish carpenter and his power fuck dad. Yeah! Never heard it before. It's totally new to me. Fuck you, condescending prick.
That's why Jesus came to save you from your sin. That's why he's named Jesus, Jehovah's salvation. So
you can lay so much. Well, you can't justly lay so much blame at God's feet, though people do.
Yeah, I can. If your God is real, they're responsible for every last goddamn thing. It's their problem.
But any blame that you can, or that you try to lay at God's feet, you cannot say that he hasn't done everything to make it right.
He hasn't done a goddamn thing to make anything right if the fucker exists, which they don't. I keep stressing this to you. But that's just, what is the point of this? You're not convincing anybody of a damn thing who doesn't already believe your shit.
He died to make everything right. And
wow, he had a shitty weekend. No, it wasn't a sacrifice. Jesus didn't sacrifice shit.
Severe.
Oh, I'm gonna get beat up a bit and fucking drop dead. Oh, that kind of sucks, but hey, I get unlimited power afterwards. I'm hanging out with my daddy, who's also me.
Here, as sin is to God, he says that he'll forget your sins.
Right.
And that is...
Alright, then that's the fucker's problem to do. Do it or don't. It's not my concern.
Such a blessing. I mean, what a God.
And why does he
the same God who created these criteria to begin with, you fucking morons.
hate sin? Because sin causes death and pain and destruction. All things that, even if you're an atheist, you hate these things. And And
then your God could just as easily make those things not happen, but they choose not to because your God is an incompetent prick.
I think it's, I don't know, it just all makes sense once you start reading the Bible. Yes, why is sin so emphasized in the Bible? Why would us, like, why would people write a book condemning themselves?
Yeah.
Like, obviously this is from God. And
Yeah.
the resurrection is the greatest proof. All the apostles being killed because they saw Jesus, they saw him when he was risen. But Matt, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate your time. I know it's late, and are you preaching tomorrow?
Yeah, I will be in the morning. Yeah, it actually is the morning, but no problem.
Yeah,
Thanks
we
for
need to
coming
let
on
you
so
get some
late.
rest. Yeah, I appreciate it.
No problem.
Any last thoughts you want to share? And how can people follow you?
Sure thing. So, if you are undecided on the whole creation versus evolution debate, you might have tuned in. Let me reiterate that there is a substantial amount of evidence for creation. The fact that atheists laugh at it and they mock it
Hey, Matt, you fucking moron. He just asked where to find you. He didn't ask for all this shit.
so much, I don't think they would make fun of us if it wasn't something that was possibly true. The reason
No, we mock you because it's a complete fucking joke.
they're trying to do that is because they want to bully Christians. A lot of times when kids go to school, they get bullied for believing.
Nope, I just mock stupid people, and let me tell you, being Christian when I was going to school was in no way gonna get you messed up. Not being Christian, that caused problems. Such persecution with you idiots.
In God or bullied for believing in the Bible. Let me say, you don't want to go down the road of atheism. Atheists actually lead the world in suicide. That's very
No, they don't.
serious. This isn't just some game. It's not a joke. The demographic that hurls the insults and mocks us, they lead the world in suicide. They say, oh, it's believing in...
It's not true, it's a load of shit from Matt Powell. Also, you fuckers are the ones threatening people with eternal torture just for existing, so I mean, fuck you.
Jesus is like believing in Lord of the Rings or in Elmer Fudd. Well, would they do a debate with us on the existence of Bugs Bunny or Elmer Fudd? Absolutely not.
And that's the same reason no one should debate you assholes on your Jeebus thing, but the difference is people aren't trying to enact laws based on a belief in Bugs Bunny.
The fact that they're willing to debate us means that they understand that there's legitimacy to our claims.
So the fact that you wish to debate the evolutionists means there's legitimacy to our claims. Way to fuck yourself over.
And so God's word is absolutely true. And like all of us had talked about here, the resurrection of Jesus is an established fact of history. That's why we're in 2025 AD, after the death of the Lord Jesus Christ.
Wow. It's Anno Domini, which means in the year of our Lord. It's supposed to synchronize with when the dumbass figment of your imagination was supposed to have been born. However, your scholars who accept this idea say that it's off by a few years, like 4 years roughly. So whatever. It's not after death, you fucking moron, which is natural for people to think when they're 5. Not however the fuck old you are being a damn preacher, you fucking moron. Also, that's why we switched to CE and BCE. Because then we abstract from that religious concept. Why do we do Common Era before Common Era? Because we're just keeping it good because we already have a calendar. We've already got all these dates set up. So why fuck things? Why should people learn that 1987 was really the year, 5319? That'll fuck up everything. When were you born? 5315 and not 1985, So, I mean, come on. Come the fuck on, bro. Also, it's all arbitrary. It just happened to be that the Western world kind of took over and the Western world was Christian, so that's the timetable they decided to roll with.
It shook up the world so much.
Japan shifts its internal year setup every time there's a new emperor. We're in the Reiwa, like 8th or 9th Reiwa now. DPRK uses the Juche system, which is based off of Kim Il Sung's birthday, April 15th, 1912. Yes, Kim Il Sung, the founder of North Korea, was born the same day the Titanic sunk. Coincidence? I think not. But yeah, so it is currently Juche 12. Juche 114. Is that right? 114? Yeah. Yeah, Juche 114. Because that's how that works. There's the Hebrew calendar that's a little under 6,000 years. Wrap your heads around that one. There's other calendars that are running on 10,000 years, and there's a calendar system that of years based on the birth of civilization. So realistically, we're in like the year 1026 or something like that. I'm not sure.
The calendars were reset. So there is so much that confirms what God's word says. And, the Lord wants all to be saved. He's not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. So he wants to show us the truth. The Bible says, for the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. So if you reject the word of God, the Bible says you're without excuse. Don't harden your heart. Don't reject his word because it might make you uncomfortable. A lot of people say that it's ridiculous that God would flood the world. How mean of him to flood this earth and kill all of these people. Well, God, number one, is the giver of life, and he's also the taker of life. He has the right to take life. Not only
yes, you're justifying murder now. Oh, how beautiful. I brought you in this world and I can take you out. Such wonderfully regressive thinking. Oh, I just love it. Are y'all enjoying these theatrics? Because I got a bit of a headache, but I'm in a really good mood today.
that, the Bible makes clear that God didn't just wake up one day and want to just destroy the world just because he's mighty
Yeah, he fucking did.
and powerful.
Also, if you're according to Hovind, God is outside of time. They know everything that's going on. So yeah, they literally just decided to destroy it just cause. It's fucking ridiculous, man. There's in time and out of time. No time. All the time. Yahweh, coming soon to a porn theater near you.
He decided to send a flood and judgment because the Bible says the earth was filled with violence. God stepped in and put an end to the violence that was happening, and God gave Noah to the people as a preacher of righteousness.
Probably not. I'm still waiting on Matt to provide contact information. Meanwhile, of course, if you wish to get in contact with me, aside from my Discord, is always a good option. Just post an email. So there you go, and that option. It's always a way to get a hold of me if you're not in the Discord.
Those individuals and tried to tell them, hey, you need to get on the ark. You need to get saved. It's coming a judgment day. And so for anybody who's listening to this, just know that I believe every person on this panel, Brandon, Lotan, Stephen, myself, we love you. And that's why
Ew. I did not consent.
we're even having these conversations. And
Also, no, you don't care about people at all. You don't. You really don't. Because for you, winning souls just gets you better rewards. So you do it for yourself.
if you're interested in checking out any of my work or my material, you can
I'm
see
not.
the debates that I've had with secular humanists. If you're interested in this,
We could actually watch those at some point. I just need to go back and find them because I don't go looking for Matt's stuff. I go to his channel, see if there's anything interesting, and then move
the subject on the channel, Matt Powell Official. And then, of course, one of the big things that I'm dealing right now with is the Orthodox Church, the Catholic Church. And there's a massive amount of Christians converting to Orthodoxy right now.
Yeah, they could attempt to justify the murder of anyone or anything at any time, like they're doing in Palestine right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of Christians leaving non-denominational churches and becoming Orthodox. I just had a guy here a couple days ago say that he was Orthodox. He came and visited our church. And he's like, I'm Orthodox, but I'm going to come here because there's nothing else in the area because we live kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And so there's a lot of people that are watching falsehoods online. They're learning false ideas. They're learning anti-King James only material. And I believe that it's time for us to stand up for salvation by grace, the King James Bible, God's holy word, and defend it using mathematical formulas and just the word of God itself, the self-authenticating book.
E equals MC squared, therefore Jesus. Oh, what the fuck?
Like Brother Brandon talks about. And so I pray that, if you don't use the King James Bible, that you'll start using it. There was a time where I had
No, I'll stick with my NIV that I got at Goodwill in August 14th of 2013 for $3 because, yeah, that's what I'm going with.
dabbled in other versions. And, to be honest, there is no power in those other versions, at least not like the King James Bible. So with that being said, thank you so much, guys, for having me on. I do want to say, I don't know if I said it on the recording. I want to make sure that I say it publicly. I'm a big fan of what you guys are doing. I think it's phenomenal, and I appreciate that you guys are taking such a stand for something such as the King James Bible, because it is not popular to do that. And I am just so thankful that there are people who
Right, because the King James Bible sucks.
are willing to take a stand on this subject.
Real quick, just to run one quick last question. Out of all the mathematical things on my channel, there was somebody actually asking me to ask you, which one stands out to you the most? If you're familiar with it, I'm not sure how familiar you are.
Yes. What I would say is the one how Jesus, obviously he was approached on the Sabbath, right? You had mentioned this in your 7 terrifying things in the King James, I believe. And there was a verse that Jesus quoted that was the 700.
Well, Russian Orthodoxy, which is its own variation.
There are 7,700.
And by that I mean variation of Christianity at abroad. It is a very distinct branch, pre-Catholic.
77th verse of the Bible as we know it today.
Mm-hmm.
In 1 Samuel, he quoted, "Have you not read?" I think that is amazing. There is no way that that is just by coincidence, not to mention all of the other mathematical probabilities that would have to happen for all of the other mathematical things that have been discovered, these equations. And not only that, there are patterns left and right, like you cover on your channel, that show that this could not have come from man.
Mm-hmm.
Even Christopher Hitchens said that the King James Bible is a very, very beautiful work. I believe he said it was something along the lines of, it was an amazing work of art. And truer words have never been spoken.
I mean, if he felt that way, okay. I think it's a load of shit.
The King James Bible isn't just some fantasy.
And I'm gonna be real, everyone loves some good old Hitchens, but I don't give a fuck what opinion he actually had on the Bible in that regard as an artistic work. I don't fucking care. It doesn't change the veracity of it at all, which he would agree would have been non-existent.
It is the word of God. So I think my favorite would be the 7,777th verse that Jesus quoted when he was confronted. I think that was just amazing. The very first verse that he quoted.
Mm-hmm. And it's not even tied to the Sabbath. It's like he's just making a different point. Anyways, well, Matt, thank you so much for joining us. You better get some sleep. And we'll be praying for you and your ministry. And once again, if you're not subscribed to Matt like me, apparently, you need to go subscribe. He has really good information, and I'm actually looking forward to checking out those Orthodox videos because
me
I
too,
know
actually.
very little about that.
Yeah, that we just had a conversation about people converting to Orthodoxy because of the charismatic movement, and so I'm excited to hear about it.
Yeah. All right, Matt. Well, you have a good rest of your night, and God bless. We'll see you on the next.
Yeah, we won't be seeing you on the next anything. God damn, this was tiring. All right, we made it through that shit. Holy hell. That was 2 hours, 30-some minutes. Fuck. I was a trainee diving instructor and a young woman who was an Egyptian Coptic Christian. We had a great chat and her lessons interesting. Does Matt not know that the Bible wasn't written with chapter and verses? He does not. He does not, but he's an idiot. Matt Powell is a fucking idiot. All right, that's the end of this stream. I'm fucking tired. I am going to do the cleanup necessary on this, get the thumbnail made, and get this thing. Well, it's going to be out there on the internet, but I'll get it polished up. Because we got, unless he dropped dead randomly, Hoven to streaming here in a couple of, maybe at a maximum of 2 hours. So I'm probably going to take care of some stuff I need to do around here and get prepped for that. Then we'll see what all goes on. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. I will catch everyone next time. And yes, it was ridiculously.